3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasin the Racin.
Brought to you by OMG Racing. They've got brand new merch out, by the way. Brand spanking Yamaha factory ups and downs, from the hoodies to the tops to all sorts. So spend your money with them lot without a doubt, because if you don't, they don't sponsor the show and you wouldn't be listening to this right now. We have Bennetts on board, obviously, and we've got JC Truck and Trailer Hire. And my guest is obviously looking at me now going, is he having a mild stroke? But I always forget those initials and what they fully stand for. But this episode, we have a personal sponsor for each episode, and this one is brought to you by Plumwise Limited. It's a family-run business which has been going on for 25 years. They cover all aspects of domestic and commercial plumbing and heating, including gas, oil, renewable air source. I'm going to run out of breath here. Source heat pumps and solar panels. Based up in Newcastle upon Tyne, God's country. Our guests will probably disagree with that one, but anyway, based in God's country, Newcastle upon Tyne, but they cover nationwide. Please get in touch with Rachel for a free quotation on 0777 917 2953 or email info@plumwise.co.uk. But the most important thing to remember about this episode sponsor is they were big personal sponsors of Chrissy Rouse, and if it wasn't for them, Chrissy wouldn't have done they've been so loyal to Chrissy for years and years and years. Also, I'll get slapped by Grace if I don't mention there's merch coming from us as well, so please look online on that side.
Does that include the hat you've got on?
Oh mate, I know. I have not had this off my head in a second, but as you can tell by the silky voice, that is not quite Newcastle yet. We're breaking down the accent here.
I never like my voice when I listen back. Like, I actually don't like these headphones because I don't think I sound like I sound.
You were debating like changing the headphone style. How was that working out for you?
Well, because I didn't want to hear myself quite so much.
So obviously it goes without saying I've got Christian, and opposite us is quite frankly an intimidating guest because he's in the game. He is the game. Matt Roberts, how we doing, son?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
He regrets being here. You can see it already. He's like, want my one day off.
I'm not intimidated, but a little nervous myself, to be honest. It's kind of it's really lovely to sit in this studio. I've watched many of you guys' episodes and obviously seen Chrissy doing his thing, and you just mentioning him there. It kind of puts the hairs up on your neck a little bit.
Oh no, it's but we've actually a little secret, but the hardcore listener will already picked up on this. We have had you on before, and Kristen, you text Grace,
episode
didn't you?
46, I think it was.
Episode 46. So we had
it was pre-studio days.
It was pre-studio, and then like a good friend of yours, Lee Johnson, was the first one. That sounds weird. Christening it, but it was actually called the christening episode, which is even weirder to be honest. But no, it's we've had you on before, and that was like on the Skype days. And I remember doing the last episode when Chrissy's mum and dad house was sitting around like huddling around the laptop, and it was just some crack. I actually referred to you as a German stripper.
That's right.
One of my proudest moments in media.
How did that come about?
Well, right, long time. No. So I was in Munich. And naturally, you get a few drinks in you, and you think, let's go have a look round. And naturally, ended up in a club for gentlemen,
for research
purposes, mate. You know what I mean? Discover the languages. And this woman spoke clearly better English than me, which is not really a hard brag. Let's face it. But she knew Russian, Portuguese, Spanish. She knew multiple languages, and she was very, very easy on the eye. And so was Matt Roberts. That was
George Clooney. Yeah, I did just say he's George Clooney of the motorbike world.
He is, you know what I mean? He compared, so
he's my man crush, like literally.
Shut up, man. Is that why you're wearing that white top? Just trying to lure him in.
I had a shave, washed my hair. I knew I was doing well. Actually, what was the conversation? Grace said, "Can you do Matt Roberts?" I was like, "What time? I'm free."
I'm glad your wife's gone out with the kids. I'm really glad this is good. The neighbours have already been talking. Hey, that's a good point. We thought you lived in a nice area. Yeah. What's all that about?
Well, yeah, you see, we're going to break a lot of myths, I think, today, probably.
You're actually nervous, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, it's all right. This is where I grew up, around this area. We're in part of Huddersfield. We're not that far from the town centre, really. But yeah, just down the road is a little place called Marsh, which is where I grew up and where... obviously, all my mates were. There's a little wreck down here. It's basically, this is the council estate just across the road here, and there's a big wreck in the middle where we used to sort of divide our time between playing football and running away from dangerous dogs. That's sort of how we entertained ourselves. And I've been around the world a little bit since then, and sort of gravitated back. And when we started a family, and thought, where do I want to grow up? Well, I want those kids to know what I had to go through.
So you've got a family dog now, have you?
So no, we just rely on the dogs around the area, just
to chase them away.
Yeah,
keep the kids active.
Yeah, exactly. So my wife actually teaches at the school that I went to, and my kids go there now as well. So
did you move away from it then, or have you?
I moved away. I moved away to live in Spain when I got a job for Dorna back in the day. That was the first time I'd lived away from Huddersfield. I did a year out from uni. My third year I did it in Spain, in a little town called Oviedo up in the north of Spain, which was really nice. It was quite similar to here, actually, the climate and the countryside and everything's really green. And I was pretty sure I'm a real home bird, which is why I'm back here, and I'm really close to my family and my friends here and stuff. But I was always fairly clear that there wasn't much of a career here for me. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I wasn't going to go into the sort of work that, the engineering and the factories and the stuff that are around here. I always knew that I would have to move away at some point. So, yeah, it turned out to be Spain, and that job with Dorna, which I spoke to you guys about, you and Chrissy on the last podcast, about how all that happened. And I lived in Spain for 7 years, which I loved. It was brilliant, and I love Spain. I love the culture. I love the country and the people and everything. But like I said, I was always pretty clear. And Jane, my wife, we've been together since we were at college. We went to the same high school and stuff. And she was living with me out there in Spain, and we were always pretty clear that if we were fortunate enough to have a family, we would want to do it back here around. As much as it would be a great lifestyle to grow up in Spain and have a second language and the sunshine and the beach and all of that stuff, we very much wanted them to grow up around family and have the kind of same life that we'd really enjoyed as kids ourselves. So that's why we ended up back here.
See, now, obviously you're a million miles away from it, but can you see yourself in latter years just going back to Spain? You can see your eyes light up talking about it. It's like...
Yeah, to be honest, I always thought we'd probably split up more of our time and we'd go back over there for the 6-week holidays or stuff like that. You had all these grand ideas about things, but it hasn't really worked out that way. Things like Brexit don't help, do they? And you probably always have you always imagine that things are going to be ideal, and they're not. And so maybe one day. I doubt I'll go and live there though. I think I'd spend more time out there if I can in future, but I don't think I'd live there again.
And that thing with being, I know you came on the pod and you spoke about how you got into the world, but just briefly go back over it, because it was a pod that was 145 episodes ago or something.
It's terrifying, because I actually, like, a little bit of a confession, I totally stole Matt Roberts from doing the North Yorkshire, and you were down at the North Yorkshire Club, always great crack, and you got a bit of a heckler, so if he's listening, there you go. But no, it was great that, at first you're sitting and go, everyone's heard it before, but then actually to go through it again, like Christian says, it was actually class, the details that you miss.
Yeah, well, we don't want to force anybody to have to go through that again.
Oh, don't be daft.
No, actually, the funny thing was, like you said, we did that on Skype, that interview, and it was during lockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We were fairly early into lockdown. I can't remember exactly the dates, but I was like a bottle of wine in, as I was most evenings during lockdown. And as we got through that episode, I got more and more
it was brilliant.
Loose. But,
it was brilliant.
It was great fun, yeah.
Everyone would be tuning in to look for episode 54.
See if you can work out the bit where Matt kind of finally loses it. So briefly, I mean, I studied Spanish here at college and then at university at Huddersfield, Spanish and Media Studies, and I decided at the end that I wanted to get into sports journalism. Really, I don't, like most people, I'd wanted to be a sports person myself. I would be a footballer, and it didn't happen. And so I thought the next best thing is talking about other people doing it. So I liked writing, and as I said, I'd studied Spanish, which was basically because I fancied my Spanish teacher, and like really tried really hard to impress her. And then I thought, she told me I was really good at it, and then I believed her and continued to do it. And
next thing you know,
Did you do extra lessons?
This is in the 80s, it was fine back then.
Did you do extra lessons?
Yeah, willingly, yeah. So I ended up doing a degree in Spanish, which is sort of a win.
Isn't that amazing? You fancied your Spanish teacher, so you end up doing a degree. There's lengths that you go to, and
yeah. I hope she's impressed, Miss Jacobson.
Did it work, by the way?
Did I impress her?
Yeah.
Oh well, I don't know. Yeah, I hope so. God knows what else she wanted out of the relationship. If it's not a degree in Spanish, then I've let her.
Did you only ever do Spanish though? That's what I'm asking.
I think this is the perfect opportunity to well, introduce our surprise guest. If you could go get the door and bring her
That's
in.
nice.
Oh God, dread to think what. Anyway, I just, when you get told you're good at something when you're a kid, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? Because you try harder at it, you get that kind of validation, which is probably why I've ended up in TV, because I've always looked for that. People to tell me I'm doing a good job and doing well. Seemed to work. And I ended up doing a degree in Spanish, and I wanted to get into sports journalism. And literally, I don't know if I told you guys about this on the first podcast. I did like a reality TV show first, just as I left university, where no, you look on your face here, Dom. Either you can't remember, or I didn't mention it.
I'm looking forward to this. No,
I often forget that I ever did that. But this is the summer of 2000, and this is when Big Brother, the first ever Big Brother, came out, and reality TV was starting to be a thing. And I didn't audition for Big Brother, but I did audition. For
you were a participant.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a participant on a show called E-Trippers. And the premise of the show was, and bear in mind,
that's a different show in my head already on this. Matt Roberts.
There was a play on words related to it, actually, because it was produced by a company called Rapture TV, and what their big show that they did, and anybody of a certain age listening to this might remember a TV show called Club Vision. I think it was Club Vision or Club Vision. It was on Channel 4 at like 1 a.m, and it was just like a locked off camera of a rave and loads of people off their heads, and it was you used to put it on
just a webcam of a club,
pretty much. Yeah, more or less that, just people off their heads just dancing up to the camera and stuff. And then Rapture launched a cable TV channel, which was basically that 24/7, and then they decided to do this travel reality show called E-Trippers. So there's you play on words. And the premise of the show, which was way ahead of its time, was right, we're going to take two people who don't know each other, who are quite opposite, and we're going to send them to point A in the world, and they've got to get from point A to point B, and all they've got is a mobile phone, a camcorder, and a laptop. Right, nowadays, mobile phone, camcorder, and laptop, they're all the same thing, right? It's an iPhone, basically, but they were back then. I'm going back a bit now. All these technologies were separate. And something like 800 quid, it was something like that. So I auditioned. There was 12,000 people auditioned for it. Applied for it. And then I got to an audition. I think it was about 200 people. There was an audition in London, one in Manchester. I went to the one in Manchester. I got down to the last 20 from that. And the audition was kind of like, you had to do like team building things. Daft, like how can you build a tower out of polystyrene cups or whatever, and stuff like that. And they watched how you interacted with each other and what have you. And then I got down to the last 20. I went to Brighton for 2 days, similar kind of sketch, but with all these other madheads. And most of them had applied for like Big Brother, and they were real sort of extroverted type of people. And they sort of saw something in me anyway, and I got picked. I was one of 6 people to get picked. And they partnered me up, so they were like, right, we're going to party up with somebody. And during this application process, you had to name one place in the world that you wanted to go and why. And I said I wanted to go to Buenos Aires in Argentina to watch Boca Juniors against River Plate, which is the big football derby down there at the Boca Stadium. It was always a dream of mine to go there because I was Maradona mad when I was a kid. And so I want to go to Buenos Aires to watch that game. And they said, okay, who do you think we've partnered you up with? And I knew straight away, because I thought, I know what these guys are thinking, right? So in the auditions, there was a guy there called James. He was English of Chinese descent, real kind of sort of wacky. He had like a blonde Mohican. He came to the audition with a dinner jacket on and a bow tie, combat pants and handcuffs around his waist. And he was gay, right? And he was very camp.
Really?
Yeah. And I thought, right, this in the same way that in my mind, I'm probably stereotyping this guy, right? Yeah. And we all are now, and everyone who's listening to this is probably stereotyping him in a certain way. They were doing the sort of same to me because they were thinking, oh, this guy's a football fan. He's a Yorkshire lad. You know what I mean? This could be quite interesting to put these two people together. And this guy, James, had said that the one place that he wanted to go to in the world was San Francisco, to Castro district, to check out the gay scene. So they're like, right, lads, you two together, you're going to go to San Francisco, fly you out there, and you've got to get yourselves from San Francisco to Buenos Aires. You've got 2 months to do it, 800 quid. Here's a mobile phone, a laptop, and a camcorder, and off you go. And while we were out there was a website running at the time. We had to complete challenges like every week that people sent in.
Sorry. Did you make it?
Yeah, we made it.
It came out with £8,000 and a limp.
Yeah.
Sorry, Grace.
Sorry. I'm just...
Listen, it opened my eyes a little bit. So,
it brought a tear to his eye. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was great. In the end, I had my differences with this guy, just because. I'm sure he's not listening to this. He was quite selfish. And what they'd sort of failed to oversee was like, that could be an interesting relationship if somebody else was filming it. But because we had to film each other, you didn't get that...
the bits that were
dynamic.
Probably a bit... Yeah,
there was no interesting dynamic because I relied on him to film me and he relied on me to film him, and we were doing pieces to camera and stuff like that. Anyway, we made it down. Look, we went on this hippie bus from that was one of the challenges somebody set us. We went on this like hippie bus, like a commune type thing with 20 other... sort of hippie types from San Fran down to El Paso. Go on.
Sorry, question. How did you find the hippie bus? Did you just hitch or like...
No, it's there's a hostel, there's a really famous hostel in San Francisco called the Green Tortoise. And then they run these hippie buses out of the hostel and they do loops. They'll go from like San Fran all the way up to Alaska and back again. That takes like a number of weeks, obviously. They do another one that goes down the west coast and back. And then they did this one that went inland through sort of New Mexico, down to the border, El Paso, and back up Arizona, and back up again. And you live on this bus with 20 other people for 2 weeks. You're all sleeping in bunks. You stop off at some cool places. Then you cook in the evening, and everybody has a role. You like one person cooks, one person washes up, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was wicked. It was an amazing experience. We did the first part of that trip. We did the week down to El Paso, and then we got off and went into Mexico that way. And then we made our way down through Mexico. Eventually ended up getting a flight to Peru. Did some mad challenges, like I had to eat guinea pig in Peru. It's like a delicacy there. But
what did it taste of?
It's kind of tasted chicken. I know everyone says that, but it was so off-putting. Do you ever watch Blackadder?
Did it have fur on it still?
It didn't have fur on it, but it still had its teeth and its claws. It looked like, so if anyone watched Blackadder Goes Forth and Baldrick serves up Ratto Van, and Blackadder says, "What's that?" and he says, "It's rat that's been run over by a van." That looked like that. It was a guinea pig or van.
Did they flatten it as well?
Yeah, it's flattened and it's like on its back like that with a sort of surprised expression and mouth up and teeth poking out.
He probably was surprised. It's just going about his daily guinea pig business.
Not as surprised as me. Yeah. So that was, yeah, so I had like a tiny bit of it. It was very challenging. It was a challenging meal. But yeah, so I did stuff like that and went to Machu Picchu. It was an amazing experience, and all the way down to Buenos Aires. Did
you get to see a football game?
No, so this is the daft thing. It was out of season, so there was no games on. But we had, that was the timeline we were given. So we went to the stadium. We did a tour of the stadium, and I organised a game of five-a-side. And I think this was the challenge actually that somebody set me to organise a game of five-a-side on the streets outside the stadium with local kids. So I did that, and brilliant, like proper like little jumpers for goalpost type street football outside the Boca Stadium. So yeah, that was amazing. So I'd just come back from that, and I'd honestly thought I'm going to be a superstar when I get back. I remember flying back into Heathrow, and I was like self-conscious, thinking people are going to be recognising me
because you knew like the whole thing had kicked off with all like the reality TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Big Brother. Like I said at the time, I thought, oh god, this is it now. And bear in mind, they're telling us we're out in like Mexico, and they go, oh, it's going down brilliant. All this stuff's, it's great. What you're sending us back is fantastic. We're going to have to get you an agent when you get back, because all this. I'm thinking, bloody hell. I remember laying in a bed in Mexico in a hostel thinking about buying my dad's Golf GTI off him when I get back. I don't know why I thought of that, but that's what I was. I had serious delusions of grandeur there. I was like, wait till I get back. And of course, I'm like walking through Heathrow and nothing. And literally, like, I went home and
not even Miss Jacobson with the placard.
No, I went round to Spanish. Yeah, she went onto the door to me. So things didn't take off quite how I expected. So then I found myself, you know, on the dole, living with my mum, and then the next job advertisement that I saw that I was interested in was the Dorna one, and I went for that. And I actually think
it's a logical step, isn't it? E-trippers to Dorna, it's the normal career step.
I was expecting that, like, the story he was given was a bit how I feel like you should tell the story anyway, but that's a much better version of that story. Like, the build up into the next bit.
Honestly, the interview that I got with Dorna was it was literally. I don't know if they still do it, but the Guardian newspaper on a Monday, they have a media section and they have a jobs section in that media bit. So anyone looking for a job in the media, you just buy the Guardian on a Monday and scroll through it, and that's what I did, and that's where the E-Trippers thing came from, and then that's where the Dorna thing came from as well. A tiny little advert saying, you know, 500cc World Championship looking for journalist, English speaking, Spanish a bonus, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So
just out of interest, did you have any interest in bikes at that point or not?
No.
Not
really.
It was just a job. You wanted to sports journalism or sports media, and that was
I wanted to get into any sport, yeah.
Yeah.
Not football. You had any sport, or was it football mainly?
Any sport. I think football, yeah, but I probably saw that was quite a competitive environment. So I've always been into all sport, really, to be honest. And to be fair, the year out that I did in Spain in my third year from uni was 99 when Crivier won it was 98-99 I was there, but the summer of 99 when Crivier won the 500cc World Championship, I was kind of across that because the sports dailies in Spain are like, you know, the Sun, the Star, the tabloids in this country. It's just sport over there. And as I was learning Spanish while I was there, it was a really good way for me to learn Spanish. I used to buy Marca and Ask, the two big Spanish sports dailies, every day and read them. And Crivier was front page news, and, you know, when he was winning races, it was a big thing. So, and it was free to air. It was on TV, which is the only TV I had in the flat I was living in. So every other Sunday I'd sit down and, you know, first part of that season, I think Whit was riding the Medenas bike. I think it was 99. Anyway, he was making some sort of until like.
It was like he expanded himself at
Brno,
yeah.
Yeah, so certainly for the first.
I was so mad at him because they like delayed. You know, you got a day set aside of watching bikes.
Yeah.
And he went and his pelvis and like
takes all the fun out of it.
Yeah.
He ruined your day.
Well, yeah,
he ruined your day.
There was a massive delay and I didn't watch the race.
Yeah.
Bloody Whit.
I know. You'll probably see him later on. I think he's always around here as well. Anyway. Which is so I'll move on to him actually because he's a big part of it really. So I did have a little interest, you know, I was across it. It's not like I didn't know anything. So then when I applied for this job, so at the time, Whit was playing drums in the Poor Boys band, and Jane, who you just met my wife, her uncle at the time, he was the guitarist in the band. So I'd been to watch them, you know, when we were courting, as they say, we'd go to watch them gig. So I've met James a couple of times, but he didn't know me from Adam, you know. But on my job application, I'd, you know, hammed it up a little bit and I said I have special interest in Grand Prix motorcycles because James Whitham's a friend of the family, which is true, just wasn't my family. So I wasn't lying. And then when I sat down for my interview with my eventual boss, Paco, I'd noticed that I'm looking across the table at his notes and he's gone Matthew Roberts, age 23, Amigo de James Whitham. Right, you don't need a degree in Spanish to know what that means. I'm like, oh shit, I might have overdone it a bit there. Anyway, the interview went well. I got the job, and 6 or 8 months later, we're at Donington at the British Grand Prix. And by this point, I think my boss has worked out that I didn't know anything about bikes. I'm just kind of blagging it.
I thought you were going to tell me like you'd seen him and you had to be like the whole James, hello mate.
No, wait for it. Exactly what happened. So we're sat in the Dorna office, which has got like these glass windows out into the paddock, and I'm sat there with my boss, and who comes and stands right outside the window where we are, yapping away like, you know, he always is to somebody, but wait. So I look at him, my boss looks at me, he goes, "Oh, there's your friend out there," and I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he says, "Well, are you going to go and say hello to him then?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, of course I am." So I get up and I walk out. I'm thinking, shit. So I walk out and I go up to James and I go, "Hi James." He says, "All right, mate." And I said, "I know you don't know who I am, but my boss is on the other side of that window and I told him that I know you." And he goes, "Hey," he slaps me on the shoulder. He goes, "You sound like you're from my neck of the woods." And I said, "Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm going out with Mick's niece, Jane. Been to a couple of gigs and that." It's like, "Oh, right, yeah. So what are you doing here then? You got a Dorna uniform. What's going on?" So 5 minutes chat with him, you know, because he's just that type of person. Brilliant, isn't he? And I've walked back in, and I was so smug when I walked back into that office, and I was like, he still didn't really believe me. I think he still sort of knew what had gone on, but he couldn't say anything. So, so I owe a lot of it to Whit, and it's amazing now that we've sort of come full circle like we have done, and he's been my colleague for the last 10 years, and we're, you know, really, really close friends and spend a lot of time between races together. And yeah,
you know, when you went to watch him gig, you never interacted with him, nothing, or
the only memory I have of any interaction was at some pub somewhere in like North Allerton or somewhere, Chapel Allerton. No, North Allerton. Allerton Bywater, that's where they used to go, Castleford. They used to play a venue there. And we were in the pub before the gig. And I remember like, oh yeah, come and have a beer with us. And James was just sat holding court with about 10 people around him, and no one else is speaking basically. He's just telling the tale, telling it like it is. And so yeah, I sort of had that brief interaction with him.
Yeah, you had a character reference, because imagine how much how different life would have been for Matt Roberts if Whit was in fact a twat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Play ball,
get away from us, or you know what I mean? Like standoffish. Imagine. Like,
God, imagine if it had been foggy. Oh, joking, Carl.
When you're friends, eh? When you're friends, that's class. That is class. I tell you what, this is a bit like I feel like I'm very lucky that we had the North Yorkshire night beforehand, because I've got a few little stories that we may have missed if I wasn't at that night. But what have you been up to recently in regards to football? You've got to tell Christian.
In the football, injuring myself.
No. In World Superbike.
Oh, referee. Yeah. So this is.
And did you sell the TT?
Yeah, I sold it. Yeah,
it's already gone. Right, there you are. Yeah. Now Christian's perked up with interest here. What's going on?
So, I stepped back from doing World Superbike last year, but I ended up doing a couple of rounds in the studio towards the end of the season because Rachel couldn't do it or whatever. So we're doing a studio round with Tom Sykes, who's obviously from Huddersfield as well. And in a roundabout way, I was saying to you last week how it's weird, like Mick Grant obviously is from Huddersfield, and he was as successful as he was, and he gave a leg up to Whit and he gave a leg up to Tom Sykes, and then sort of as a byproduct of that, if you like, I've ended up in racing through Whit. But if it wasn't for Mick Grant, then arguably James, Tom, and certainly me would never had any involvement in it. It's like these sliding doors things. But anyway, so I called Tom, and he obviously lives in Leamington now, which is on my way down to London. So I said, I'll pick you up on the way past if you want. And I've got this little Audi TT that I bought during lockdown, a little bit of a midlife crisis. It's old. It's like a 2007 little low mileage little number, So, but I've been using it to get myself to and from BSB rounds and stuff like that. Kids were really excited when I first got it. It's got those little bucket seats in the back where you had to sit. Anyway, I've picked Tom up in it, and you ever been in a car with Tom Sykes?
No.
Can you imagine what it's like for 2 hours? Hard work. If he's not breaking out into random Elvis songs, he's just...
Is he an Elvis fan, is he?
Oh, yeah. A massive Elvis fan. He's a good singer, actually, as well.
No,
he seems like he'd have the voice to it, to be fair.
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah. He's got that loud sort of like... He bellows, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a bellower.
Bellows.
Yeah, he bellows.
Yeah.
Word of the pod, bellow. 100%.
He's a bellower.
He's a bellower. So what was that?
Every other, every like quiet moment, it's like, we can't go on together. And then he'll just sort of start talking about, fiddling about with something in the car, opening and closing your glove box or whatever. Anyway, I digress. He says, oh, it's all right, this car, I said, well, I'm thinking of selling it. He's like, oh, yeah, I might buy it for his girlfriend, Teresa. Anyway, long story short, Tom offered me some money for this car, which was less than I was willing to sell it for, so I said no, right? Anyway, that was that. 3-4 months later, this sort of February just gone now, he rings me up. Hey lad, how's your injury? And I said, oh, and it's not great. I snapped my Achilles tendon last year. I said, it's going well, it's good. I said, but he said, oh, are you fit for playing football? I said, no, why? So Tom is from Lepton up here, and I tell you what a lot of people don't see from Tom, because I think he has a bit of a persona and stuff. He is one of the nicest blokes, really soft, really thoughtful, humble, he's a proper nice lad. And he comes back up every so often, and he meets all his pals from junior school, and they have a game of football, 11 aside, against a group of whoever. Like, they've challenged me and my mates to, he's like, get a group of your lads together and we'll have a game against you or whatever. So he says, you know, I've just seen if you want to come play on our team. And I said, well, I can't, mate. I can't. I'm not quite ready for that yet. But I'll come down and watch you. Come down and bring a flask of coffee and just sit on the sideline and watch. Anyway, all right, yeah, okay, do that. Anyway, next thing I get a call. What you like at refereeing? I'm like, I've never done it before. And he said, right, that sounds all right. You'll do for us, lads. So next thing I know, I'm there.
Were you still on crutches?
No, I wasn't on crutches now.
Wheelchair.
Yeah, this is literally like 2 months ago. I'm walking, I'm not running, which is what I do when I play football anyway. Because I'm that good.
Just give me the ball.
Yeah.
There you are.
You do the running. Anyway, next thing, Tom's running up and down, and I'm standing there thinking, and I think there was World Superbikes that weekend at Phillip Island. In fact, there was. And I'm thinking, you know, a year or two ago, I was sat presenting it, and Tom was sort of on pole position, you know, that kind of thing. And here we are on a cold, wet, windy day in Huddersfield, and he's running around playing football with his mates, and I'm refereeing. How's that happened? It's so weird.
I tell you what, why on both sides it's a bit like, so why did you have an opportunity to be back in World Superbikes presenting, or
me?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could have continued to do it from the start of last year,
right?
That was, you know, I didn't have a contract, but I basically hardly don't usually have a contract anyway with Eurosport. It's just kind of what do you call it, just an understanding that I would continue, and that was definitely the case. I mean, I spoke to them and they wanted me to carry on, but I don't know if I spoke about this with you before, but the year before, so end of 22, I was spending quite a lot of time away, or I felt like I was every weekend. My littlest lads, Gabriel, he started school in the September, October, we had a race every weekend. Either BSB or Worlds.
Yeah, because you were fronting both, weren't you?
I was fronting both. Yeah. And then the studio, there was something on, so they couldn't use the studio. They were moving the studio. Basically, this Warner Brothers Discovery, TNT, Eurosport, sort of everything coming together, meant that they had to move a studio. They had to do something anyway. And Warner Brothers Discovery owned a studio in Warsaw in Poland. And for the last, I think it was, I want to say 5, but it might have been 4 rounds of World Superbikes, we had to go to Warsaw in Poland to use a studio there, green screen studio. I'm just about to cough. Sorry, might want to edit this. The studio's in Warsaw.
Oh, nice connection.
So
I think he's done it before.
Oh yeah, just a few times.
So we had to get 2 flights to get to Warsaw. So me and Whit are going to Manchester Airport, flying to like Vienna. So you're going on a Thursday, you're coming back on the Monday, as if you were going to the track, but you're not. And I just found it a bit much. I found it a bit difficult. I thought it's not really what I want to be doing. And then, you know, Chrissy passed that September, and the following week, the week that it passed, we were in Warsaw, and flying back, I had a panic attack on the airplane on the way back. Started sweating, got really hot, ran to the toilet, fucking both ends, sorry.
Right.
And I was just locked in the toilet for about 20 minutes. So I sort of came round, and and I just got back, and I just thought, I don't want to do this to myself anymore. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not seeing my kids. I'm not getting the downtime that I need in between. Like I said, my little lad had started school in the September, and I worked every weekend, September, October. So I didn't see him, apart from a crazy half an hour in the morning and a tired hour in the evening. I didn't really see him, and I just thought, something's got to go here. And I think when I told Eurosport at the end of the year, and I said, I'm just letting you know now, I want to come back. I don't want to do World Superbike anymore. I think they were a bit unsure, and they were like, okay, give him a couple of months, because you're always tired at the end of the year. And then they asked me again in the new year, you know, do you still stand by that, because we're going to have to make a decision. And I said, by that point, you know, when money's running a bit dry and you're getting into this early part of the next year, I was a bit like, oh God, can I do it? And I thought, and I'd felt okay by then, I'd felt revitalised, but I thought, no, I don't want to put myself back in that position again, because that's where it's going to end up. So I just said no, and I just stepped back and concentrated on doing the BSB and the TT stuff. So Sorry, that wasn't what you asked.
No. It's like
we're talking about selling my TT to Tom Swipe, which I did in the end.
He did. Hand it up. Was it cash or PayPal?
It was cash.
Oh, now we're talking.
Did he pay what you wanted, or did he pay what he wanted?
He paid what he wanted, yeah, but he paid
Yorkshire lads, eh? Yeah. Yorkshire lads. You just can't. You can't get
two Yorkshires against each other, so it's rocking a hard place.
It really is.
Tough. It was a tough negotiation process.
I tell you what, I briefly want to go back to the panic attacks. Is that something that you've had from a young age, or was it job induced? You know, the stress element, was it?
So it started. I started with panic attacks in 2016.
Not long ago, really.
I would have been 38.
Right.
38. Yeah, I think it was that summer. That's the earliest I can remember, and I know this because I've got some photographs that I was going through. I was doing a presentation recently for. I did a presentation for the university. I went back and did a master's a couple of years ago. I was talking to Christian about it before, and they asked me back again a couple of months ago to present to the current students, and sort of talk about my career journey and what had led me to do this master's and what I plan to use it for and stuff. And so I was going through photographs to kind of illustrate my career journey, if you like. And I found this picture from 2016 from Cadwell Park. And I'm standing in the middle of the track on the mountain. I must have been recording some links. And somebody was talking to me down the line. It was probably Cov, the director, who's really funny. And he must have said something. And anyway, I'm laughing. And it looks like I'm doing my dream job. I'm laughing and I'm having a great time, which I was. But like the next photo on, or a couple of photos on my reel, because I'm just going through the time, was me in the back of an ambulance, and I'd taken a selfie and sent it to Jane so that she didn't panic, because she thought I was having a heart attack at home. We'd been out for dinner. I felt like I had indigestion or something. I got home and I went like a funny colour and started sweating and passing out. So she called an ambulance and she thought I was having a heart attack. They took me away in the ambulance, and by the time the ambulance had come and I got in it and they'd done all my obs and everything, I'd calmed down and actually I was all right. But they took me in anyway just to do some ECG tests or whatever, and I took a picture of myself smiling with a thumbs up, just sent it to her and just said, look, I'm fine. And so I realised that was a period there where on the face of it, everything was going well. I was enjoying my work and stuff, and the kids had just been born, actually. The twins had been born in 2014, and, life, in theory, was good, but for some reason inside I wasn't happy, and I was sort of churned up, and then it was manifesting itself, because I think when life is good, or you think that people see your life as good, you don't want to admit that something's not right, or you seem ungrateful for the good things in your life if you're not right. And I was definitely suppressing all of that stuff, and then it had come out in a physical way. So I had a few of those, and it wasn't until I think the second or third one, when it might have been at the hospital, they said to me, "Are you stressed or whatever? I think this is a panic attack." So there were 2 or 3 incidents at the time. Once I recognised that that's what it was, then it kind of gave me some coping mechanisms to deal with that, whether that's talking more to people or recognising when it's coming on, and then talk to myself like, this is okay, it's going to be fine, because once you get into a spiral of something's happening, I don't know what it is, then you panic even more. It gets worse. That one on the airplane just came on so fast, so hard, I couldn't do anything, but I literally just had to push people out of the way to get out of my seat and get back to the toilet before I threw up everywhere.
Do you remember the trigger? The fact that you're on a flight home, was it just like...
Yeah, I think, aeroplanes. I've never been that good with aeroplanes, and I got.
And your best mate's Whitham, who flies a plane. I can see the connection here. I can see the connection.
I've been in with Whit obviously before, and Steve Parrish, and they're better because when you have a bit of turbulence, you look at if you can look at the pilot and he looks all right and he's not panicking, you're like, oh, well, if he's not panicking, I'm all right. But when you're on row 33 and you're getting a bit of turbulence, you're thinking, I wonder what the pilot's doing now. Is he shitting himself or is he all right?
Red lights flashing.
Yeah, so I've always been more stressed about getting on the big ones.
Right, and it was literally just that.
I think
that
probably
element.
Loads of contributing factors.
Yeah, of course,
There was the Warsaw thing, worrying about I'm not spending time with my kid. There was Chrissy had happened the week before. There was the fact I was on an aeroplane, loads of stuff, and I just sat there and it just I think I was trying to read a book. I wasn't thinking about them things consciously, but they were all there. And then just like that, I just went, whoa, shit! I feel really faint, and And that was it, yeah.
I tell you what, this is a perfect opportunity to talk about your job and like how people perceive it. And that was around about an hour ago, driving down with Christian. You just think, you've got the confidence stand there, and people just perceive your job as you just need confidence and you just need a little bit of knowledge and you just let it flow. And Christian was explaining to me, because you've done a little bit with...
I've done some bits with Eurosport and with Matt, and it is absolutely incredible what goes on. So like, you have your earpieces in, and me as a guest, my earpiece is obviously switched off to nearly everything, isn't it, because of all this background chatter. And I remember, I think it was Cov actually that did say, do you want to listen to what Matt hears? And what is going on in that earpiece is absolutely insane. So I'll just hear basically what Cov's saying, which is one person, and he'll edit it out, so it's usually on mute. But what Matt hears is all the music from the VTs or all the things that are on screen. Then he's got someone telling him that what the next thing is going to be, to try and steer the conversation to that one. Then we've got an interview coming up in 5, 4, 3, and he has to stop it exactly on the one. And it's just like all these things. If he was saying it in my head, I would be having a conversation, then start talking 5, 4, 3, 2, because to hear someone in your ear and carry on as if nothing's going on.
We could literally simulate that now to our listeners who are probably just travelling down the M6. If we all just started talking right now over each other, like
it shocks you. To not even like make a physical move to, when something starts going in your ear. It's not even like, I was like doing this look to my left because someone's in my left ear. Like there's no one there, but it's just like it is such a hard job that people don't realise. It looks, on the face of it, and I guess that's professionalism, on the face of it looks really simple and easy. And then you've also got all your flipping fans as well, all going woo behind you and all that, which must be off-putting. But
in
it's
a motorcycle
unbelievable.
Paddock, you're trying to read human reaction on top of that. Motorcycles coming at you, and then you just get, like you say, some of your mates come up and slaps you on the arse in the middle of air, and you're trying to react with all that. It's like, did you, when you stepped in to this world, has it lived up to your expectations? Has it been harder work? Has it been less? What's...
Don't know if I ever really had any expectations, but what I would say is...
Made friends with Wit, so they are. Massive tick there.
That's beyond... look, it's beyond my expectations. Whatever, if I did have any expectations, it wasn't this, that's for sure.
Right.
Honestly don't think I did have any, but what I would say about what you're saying there, Christian, is it's like you said, it's like any skill, like what you do on a bike and what you do now. I'm like completely physically and mentally incapable of doing what you do, but it comes naturally to you, and you make it look easy because you've done it for such a long time. And having that experience and learning that skill set is something that you can't just do straight away. No one can, like, whether it's same for you, Dom, with riding or even tree surgery. Like when you walked into my extension just then, and it looked,
mate,
we'd been there for not even 3 minutes, right?
I feel really bad about that,
Dom he just broke the news that there's a death in the garden.
Yeah, literally. The pride of my garden, my ash tree,
is dead.
He's dead.
It's gone. It's ash. I could do.
Blew out through his cheeks, and he was like,
it's like a plumber, like a car mechanic.
Yeah,
God,
and then he went, big job that.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's a piece of piss. You and me could do. Christian Iddon's a tree surgeon,
Oh, really?
He is.
I'm a chipper feeder.
No, I tell you, we actually had a job, obviously with the timetable, we're doing these bi-weekly, and Grace totally keeps us.
Yeah, we were supposed to be tree surgeoning today, weren't we?
So Tracy Dudley, God love you, there was for she's a big bike race fan. She's part of the bomb squad, helps me out and everything like that. And I just went, she's got a crush on Christian. And I went, this is going to go down.
Were you profiteering off my face?
Mate, not just the whole lot of you. You were going to go behind around the back and get your tip. A tip. It was something like that. It was something on those lines.
Someone's getting a tip.
Someone's getting a tip.
I didn't know I'd signed up for that.
Oh, you signed up.
I thought I was going to rake up.
No, Tracy was over there. Brilliant. No, but one of his best friends is big tree surgery firm with all the machinery and everything like that. But Matt, all seriousness, I must apologise because I just went out and it was just like I've been on a chainsaw since I was 14. I just looked and went, that's scuppered, ash dye back, that's great, that. And I just went,
it's a good thing. You have to be honest with people,
you don't have to say anything.
It was a bit blunt.
It was horrendously blunt. I could have, manners dictate, say fuck all, and I should have just said nothing. I'd have went, Oh no. It just came out and I went, yeah, and Matt's down there with a cup of coffee that he's just made us and just goes, yeah, I hope you choke on it. He didn't say the words, but your eyes are saying it. So I do apologise
about the firewood, mate. Honestly, I see the point. I'm a glass half full kind of person.
Well,
it's dead. Firewood.
Firewood. Me and Christy will come sort that for you. No problem whatsoever.
Right.
Whatsoever.
That's a deal.
But for learning those skills that you say come naturally, it still comes with practice.
Yeah, it comes with practice. Yeah, they look like they come naturally, but I always think when people say it's natural, it's never natural.
But how do you practice? Because surely you just go in front of a camera and that is you doing...
Yeah, so that's the difficult thing about it, to be honest with you. You know, the very early days when I started, I was sort of fortunate when I was working for the BBC, and Susie Perry was presenting, who's, you know, one of the best in sport broadcasting and arguably the best in motorsport broadcasting, has been for a long time. And I actually said...
Sorry.
Diet Coke break.
This episode is not sponsored by Diet Coke, but Matt's got one hidden. So anyway, we continue. Very serious discussion there.
So you have two options with your talkback. The one option that you just explained there was where people are keyed to you. So if they need to speak to Christian, they press a button and they speak to Christian, right? And so you only hear what you need to hear, and that's it. And the other option is what they call open talkback, where you hear everything all of the time. And Susie liked to be on open talkback. So one of the first things, and I didn't know what talkback was, and they're talking this like code, you know, like, and depending on the gallery or depending on who's working, they might have different terms for different things. So, for example, a voiceover, they might say it's a VO, or someone might call it an out of vision, OOV, OOV. So they go, right, we've got an OOV, and I'm like, the first few times I'm standing there thinking, what's an OOV? Like, I don't fucking know what that is. So I said, put me on open talkback because I want to hear everything. I want to hear everything that Susie hears, I want to hear. And of course, I was only live for a couple of minutes a show. So I had the opportunity to just listen and work out, all right, and that's that person. And then I actually went to, I asked if I could go, but I went to a Six Nations match. And I sat in the truck, in the BBC outside broadcast truck, and just watched who was saying what. So I was like, right, so that when they speak, that's their job. And when he speaks, that's his job. Now I know. Now I've seen him like running VTs in and recording things on the EVS and then getting them played in and all that. So I got an understanding of the dynamic that's going on, that I'm hearing. Because you need to visualise it as well. I do. I'm a visual person. I need to visualise it and see what's going on. So yes. So that's how I started to learn that. And then as you start to do it more and more yourself, you tune into what you need to hear. But I like to hear everything, because if something goes wrong, I'd prefer to know about it than get told at the last second or rely on somebody to tell me and they forget. So if they start going, where's that? Like, Cov will be like, where's that fucking interview gone from yesterday? And I'm like, keep talking, Matt, give us another 30 seconds.
Yeah. You know you've got to film.
I know why, rather than just keep talking, Matt, give me another, I'd be like, why? What, and is it going to be 30 seconds, or is it going to be a minute, or has everything gone down, or is it just a small problem? I like to hear everything. So, but yeah, like I said, that's practice.
And you're now able just to switch off to that. Not switch off, but you can just really pick out what you want to hear.
Who I need to. And I, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect at that by any means. And sometimes I'll not hear something, and you might end up falling out with someone. You could go, well, you never told me that. You never told me that we were going to a break in 10 seconds. And they'll be like, yeah, I did. I literally told you. And I'll be like, right. In the past, I might have gone, no, you didn't. Now I'll go, okay, well, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry. So you do make mistakes along the way, but obviously, like anybody does. But it's like anything, it's just time and practice. And
how long were you doing your style before you went into that BBC studio, and got a picture, like... Was it a couple of years before you went into the Six Nations studio, or was it quite immediate, like getting the thought process to actually figure out visually what's going on?
Oh, that was straight away, pretty much.
Straight away, yeah.
Look, I've always, right from the beginning, I never had any kind of...
Because I would never ever thought, it's interesting. I'm sitting here like learning from it, going, like me, Chrissy and Grace started this podcast and we've never actually sat in on any, I haven't anyway, but Chrissy did a bit with Eurosport.
Yeah,
with the world endurance element, and I think when he came back from that, he had his eyes opened up a fair bit more, and it was like I'm just sitting here learning, going, I should actually get my finger out my arse and go. Like me and Grace should go. All of us, to be honest, us the co-hosts.
I mean, when I've done it, like I've really enjoyed it. But I'm in the easy. I was there as like a a bit on the side sort of thing. It's quite easy because you watch the bike racing, which you were going to do, and then you sat with your mates pretty much, aren't you? And then you chat about it, and then you fire an invoice in afterwards. Like, it is actually. It's a pretty nice job.
I know what you're saying. Well, I'm not.
For me, who's on the side? I mean, like.
Yeah, no, but I'm not. Oops, sorry, not the microphone. That's not very professional. Is it?
No, it's all you can do. You can do what you want, Matt. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I'm not just saying it because you're here, but you're particularly good at doing the pundit stuff, because what's really important about being a pundit, especially, and it's difficult if you're a current racer, is to be objective and to take yourself out of the picture and talk about other people. And it's all right to say, actually, he's really good, and give an honest opinion, an honest, objective opinion. A lot of racers find that hard even when they've retired from their career, because they're still so self-obsessed. You know, because it's a big part of the job is to be self-obsessed and to look after yourself. You have to be like that to a degree. And then, even after retirement, I think some racers, and we all know people like this, who find it hard to step away from that. Yeah. Let alone while still racing, and you do that really well. Taron McKenzie does it really well. There's a bunch of guys who do it well, and then there's understandably others who don't do it well because it's not easy to do.
Have you done any, obviously I'm focused entirely on this sport. Have you done anything outside of this sport as a commentator?
Broadcasting wise? Yeah, I did. Yeah. So when I was at the BBC, I was, young and really enthusiastic and hopeful of my
on
career.
hippie buses and going
I was after anything. I was like, what you are when you're young, aren't you? I'm one of these people who sees the prize, sees the reward, and always go for things. Like, sometimes it's not the best way to approach it, but I would just go for stuff, especially when I was younger. Not so much anymore. Become a bit more conservative and risk averse, but I put myself forward for loads of stuff. The hard thing was, though, getting that practice that we were talking about early in my career. I was very, I watched some of the stuff back from very early days. I was so green, which is normal. Like, I didn't really know what to do. I was shitting myself. I was really nervous, about to go on air, thinking there's like 1.2 million people watching this. That should never enter your head. That's irrelevant. But it did, because I'm panicking thinking about it. Why am I saying that? Because I was green and I was nervous, and I had a lot of improvement to make, but I did feel that I'd shown potential. I'd shown a bit of something that you could say, all right, here's a young kid I was in my late 20s, but someone who's got enough that we can work with and make him better. But people are out there looking to do that for you. They're out there looking to make a TV show, and you need to come and do the job. And if you can't do it, they'll get somebody else. It's as brutal as that.
One question I've got is just because when you got the Dorna job, it was a behind the camera, not in front of the camera. And at what point did you get given the opportunity, or did you put yourself forward, or what happened to make that switch from behind the scenes to actually being the guy?
So.
The anchorman.
The first year that I was at Dorna, there was no cameras, there was nothing. I was just writing, I was doing press releases, website content, I was translating from Spanish to English, so there wasn't any TV work. Dorna had a world feed, and more people know about world feed now because of the website, because they stream everything on the website. But back then there was there was a website, but they weren't live streaming the races on the website. But there was a world feed. So if you were watching in, say, for example, if you're watching in France, then they've probably got the Eurosport France commentators going to every round and commentating, and they're all commentating on the same pictures that are going everywhere. If you're in South Africa, you want an English language commentary, but you're not going to send two South African guys all the way to Jerez. So Dorna would have an English language world feed commentary that went to all these English speaking countries: Australia, South Africa, USA, Asia, and they had broadcasting contracts with those countries. The commentators at the time were a guy called Nick Harris and Dennis Noyes.
I remember him. Yeah, I remember that one.
American guy. And Randy did some stuff. Originally, Toby Moody worked for Dorna and did the world feed before he got the Eurosport job. Right. Anyway, they wanted someone to help Nick out, and they just went, I was on the books anyway. It wasn't like they had to pay me any more money. So they went, will you sit in with Nick and do some commentary? So 2002, I think, was the first year I sat in with Nick and just commentated on the world feed. 125, 250 MotoGP race. First year of, 02 was the first year of
and that was commentary stuff?
4 strokes. That was commentary. That was commentary, lead commentary. And there's still, sometimes you see it popping up now, and they'll show an old race from 2004 or something like that, and it's me and Nick commentating, I'd sound completely different. I was putting on a neutral accent and
let's hear your neutral accent.
My TV voice. Oh God,
I put you on the spot, but come on.
I always used to struggle saying Valentino Rossi because I think Valentino, that sounds really, Valentino. You can't say Valentino. So it'd be like, Valentino. It's Valentino Rossi. I can't believe it. Into the final corner. Here he comes. Literally, because I thought that's what I had to do.
Do you answer the phone with your TV voice?
Here's my telephone voice. It took me years to kind of feel comfortable enough in myself to get rid of that. But so I was commentating, and then so what happened then was, it's a bit of a story. I think I might have told this on the other podcast, but if you can't be asked, going back and listening to that. What happened was 2000. So I'd been working at Dorna for 6 or 7 months, and Gav Emmett, who's a commentator on BT now, on TNT now, me and him were uni pals. We'd met on my year out in Spain, actually. He'd studied Spanish and French, and we'd stayed in touch, and I'd just been on a lad's holiday with him. I was 6 months into my new job, and I'm telling him all about, I've just been to Japan, I've been to South Africa, it's amazing, it's brilliant. It pays shit, but it doesn't matter because I'm doing all this cool stuff. And Gav was like, I'd love to do something like that. Like, he was working in recruitment in London. And I went back from that holiday, and my boss said to me, I'm thinking about bringing someone else in to help you with the website and all that, but I don't really want to have to advertise an interview again. Do you know anybody who could? I was like, well, actually, yeah. My mate would be keen. He was like, right, give me his number then. Literally that day he rang him. I was on MSN Messenger to Gav, like most days. Remember that?
I do.
I've gone, here Gav, you're about to get a phone call. He's like, oh, right, okay. Next thing, I seen my boss on the phone through the glass door that he in his little palace that he sat in. On the phone to Gav, puts the phone down. Message comes up, MSN Messenger from Gav. He says, blimey, Charlie. I'm like, go on. He said, he just offered me a job start next week. I was like, wicked. So he quit his job. He come out, lived on my sofa in my shitty little flat in Barcelona for a few months, and then we got placed together. And that's how that started. But the reason I'm telling you that is because Gav started doing more TV stuff when he started. I was doing more writing and website. Gav was doing a bit of TV stuff. He'd go to all the pre-season tests. They would record footage mainly for the Spanish and Italian lunchtime news slots, because he'd have Max Biaggi's testing the latest, 4-stroke Yamaha, whatever, and that was big news in those countries. So Gav was starting to do a lot more of the TV stuff. Then I was commentating. Gav was pit lane reporter on the World Feed. That must have been 03 or 04. And then in 05, BBC came in, and they started taking, I think in 04 they took highlights, and they showed it late on a Monday night. They showed highlights on BBC Two or whatever, and it had World Feed commentary on it. So it had me, Gav and Nick on it. And then when they came in to do live, they decided to show it live in 2005 with Susie presenting, and they asked Dorna if they could borrow Gav to be their pit lane reporter for a year. So Gav was pit lane reporter and Susie was presenting, and they had Charlie Cox, Steve Parrish commentating. That was 2005. The end of 2005, I quit Dorna because I fell out with mine and Gav's boss. He was a difficult person to work for at the time.
What were you going to say?
That was very PC, that wasn't it? That was
he held back then, didn't he?
Did he see his lip too?
Over the years, I've had some really strong opinions about him, but I've really mellowed out over this last couple of years, and now I just think
these last 10 minutes.
He was doing what he thought was the right thing at the time, but I found him really difficult to work for, and I left. And the managing director of Dorna, I don't want this to sound like I'm being, big-headed or anything, but his secretary rang me up and she said, would you go for lunch with Manel, his managing director? And I said, yeah. So she said, don't tell anybody you're going, but go meet him at this hotel. So I went and met him at this hotel for lunch, and he said, why are you leaving? I said, look, the pay's terrible. I can't get on with my boss. He treats me like a prick. I'm done. I've got some other opportunities to do some freelance work, so I'm going to go freelance. And I'd quit Dorna, but offered myself back to only do the TV commentary because it was the only bit I liked. And I'd said to them, right, I'd worked it out. I thought, they must be charging, ESPN Asia and all that, Fox Australia, they must be charging them more than, they're paying me something like, I think it's €12,000 a year, which, you're living in Barcelona on €1,000 a month. It doesn't go that far. Don't get me wrong, great opportunity and whatever.
Yeah, you've got to live.
I'm like 27, 28 now, and I'm thinking, come on. So I've gone to them and I said, if you pay my travel and my hotels to all the races, I'll do the commentary, you don't have to pay me any money. and I'll make the money up elsewhere. So I was writing press releases for teams, and I was translating for like the Aspar team, Telefonica. I was translating press releases from Spanish to English for them. So as soon as the session finished, qualifying or whatever, I'm hammering away on my laptop for like 2 hours, just knocking out probably about 8 press releases. And that, by the end of the year, I was making sort of 5 times what they were paying me to do it. And it left me free Monday to Friday to go off and do whatever I wanted. So I did some freelance football writing, I did bits and bats of other things. Anyway, just to go back to, so I've said to him, and he said, if I promise you things will change, will you come back? And I said, no, because I've already made my mind up and this is what I'm going to do. He's like, okay. So the end of 2005, Matey Boy gets the flick, and they went to Gav and offered him that job. But that was to be a director of a department at Dorna. He got like a share option. I'm sure Gav don't mind me sharing this, but it was a really attractive offer. And they were basically saying, right, we are going to promote young people within the organisation and we're going to do things a bit differently. So Gav was faced with a decision of, if I take this job, I can't do the BBC pit lane reporting stuff anymore. I'll never forget, because we lived together anyway, but we shared a room when we travelled, and we were at Phillip Island. James Whitham's calling me, can you believe it?
Put on loudspeaker.
So put on
for the crack.
Go on then. Hey up.
So what was actually arranged? I'm confused.
I'm sat in the Chasin the Racin trailer now outside my house. Charlie's on his way. He said ETA 1:15. So if you call Charlie and arrange to meet him at Heritage.
Right, okay, that's why I thought he just sent me a text, pretty sketchy, saying ETA 13:15, but I had no idea where the ETA was. So it's Heritage.
Heritage, yeah.
Lovely, that'll do.
All right, see you in a bit.
See you in a bit.
See you later.
That's amazing. And for the people who
just him talking, he can't help but laugh, can you? He's got.
For people who wonder if Witt's the same on telly as he is real life, that just answers that straight away, doesn't it? Straight away, I love it.
There's a little coffee shop over the road here where we just go like at least once a week, sometimes more.
That's good. That is good. Where were we? Sorry. This is a long-winded story, and I hope it's still with us, everybody. This is class. No, it's class, man.
So Gav had this opportunity to take this amazing job. So we're sharing a bedroom in Phillip Island, right? We're in this little apartment, and he's gone, right, if I take this job, the BBC thing will come back up. Therefore, you could do that, but you'd have to come back to Dorna full time Monday to Friday and drop all this other stuff. And I'm like, I really want to do this, but he was like, but then it means me giving up on the BBC thing. I really enjoy that, and it's a really good career opportunity. I don't know what to do. I'm like, objectively, what I think you should do is take this fucking job so I can get... Anyway, he did take the job, and he became a director at Dorna briefly. I went back in, and Monday to Friday, but now I was working for Gav. I wasn't working for this guy anymore, so it was loads better. And we had a great couple of years where he was doing that, and I was doing the BBC. I started doing the BBC stuff then. Thankfully, they were keen to do that. And it was a shame. I say it's a shame when you look how it's worked out now. It's amazing. Like, this whole director job, Gav didn't enjoy it. It wasn't his bag, and he missed doing the TV stuff. So he went back to just doing the TV stuff, and he relinquished that job, and he gave up, quite a big sort of portion of his salary and stuff to go back to just doing the TV commentary gig, because that's what he wanted to do. That was his passion, and I'm so happy now that he's found his place at TNT, and I think he's brilliant. I think he's absolutely superb. Yeah. And he's been there for 10 years doing that job, and it's all down to this guy who just rang us up for a coffee there, Well,
like you just said, it started even from before that, so it's amazing how and then you then got Gav involved, so actually the chain continues.
Well, then, I got Gav in, but then Gav got me in to the BBC
back again.
Job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we helped each other out, and it's mad how it ended up, and I've had a couple of drunk nights where I'm like, look at us two. Who would have thought it? I'm presenting on Eurosport and BBC, and you're commentating on BT, and amazing, really, like how it ended up. But I think we were both of the mindset that when an opportunity came up, we went for it, and we worked hard. Neither of us are shy of a bit of hard work, and we've always got on well with people and stuff like that. And that's a big part of the TV job is personal relationships and just not being a twat, basically, as much as possible.
Help each other.
And a bit like Gav sort of taking a step back from what the director role he wanted to do, and just doing because he enjoyed the commentary. You just said that you took a step step back in a way from doing as much stuff. So what's the sort of future hold for you? What's your main interest? What do you enjoy doing the most? And 'cause you do your books and you do loads of other work that we don't necessarily see on screen.
He loves a side hustle.
Oh, God, I wish I knew.
He loves a side.
He loves a side hustle, does
Yeah, I
Matt?
do.
Or you just open, you see where the world takes you.
You got to like keep yourself busy. That's one thing I've learned over the years, especially since I came back to the UK and I was just doing the presenting stuff. Because during the winter, you guys know what it's like. It's hard. You know, you've been up at 5:15 this morning doing your cycling, and all right, the weather's starting to turn a little bit now. But when you're in the deepest, darkest winter here, and all your mates are at work, and it's a Monday morning, you're thinking, "What am I going to do today?" Everyone thinks it's great. That, you work with the people used to say to me, "So what do you do in the winter then? You just put your feet up," and you're like, "Kind of," but it's not as nice as that sounds. You know, we all know. I think probably from COVID how depressing that gets after a few weeks of not really doing anything. You're not like on a golf course in Saint-Tropez. You know. You're in Huddersfield.
But like, what was interesting, beginning of this interview, it's how the job security it's the fickle nature of entertainment, isn't it? You know, it's not like you will do this for the next 20 years.
Yeah, there's no contracts.
There's no contracts, and that was actually really interesting to hear. That, you know, just shows how
it's the same as the riders or the sports people.
It's a sport in itself, isn't it?
Those in the media side of it's exactly the same.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you had that if you had that lack of hunger in the winter, you wouldn't be able to survive. You know, imagine if you got to the spring, or by the way, Matt, we've lost the contract. Eurosport haven't got it.
Yeah,
you're out in the job. It's like, and then you've got 3 of your kids and your wife's going, "What's going on here?"
Well, do you know what, actually, Don? That's interesting you say that, because that, I think, when I go back to 2016, when all this stress, like, I'd always wanted to have kids, and we went through quite a long process of, you know, being able to have them and stuff. And I thought, right, that's it. That's my purpose now. And then you have kids and you realise, shit, it's not just me depending on me now. It's them as well. And like you said, if that just suddenly overnight, that contract disappears, like it did, you know, the BBC one for me, end of 2013, the BBC lost the rights. It went to BT. BT didn't want me. I spoke to them. They wanted Melanie Sykes instead, which is fair enough. Everybody, you know, whatever. Everyone's confused.
Yeah,
Do you think
But the point is that, you know, there's a realisation that shit, you know, there's things that can happen out of your control.
Yeah.
Like everything in life, things happen out of your control and you can't do anything about it. But what you got to make sure is that you're doing everything you can with the things that are in your control. And then as I started to realise that a bit more, that helped me with the anxiety and stuff, because I knew I was doing something about it. So randomly, I ended up going and doing a diploma in interior design in 2016.
Did you?
Yeah. I was interested in interior design. I was like, I've got to find something else. I can't just rely on this. I can't just hope that this always works and that Eurosport always want me, and it ain't going to work like that. So I need some
Why
kind of
interior
backup
design?
plan. I was always reading Grand Design. I was always watching the show, and I subscribed to the magazine, you know, Grand Design's magazine. Always reading it. And my cousin, he's married to an interior designer who's got a studio on the other side of town here. Does really well. And he sort of said to me one winter, we were having this conversation, like, what are you going to do now then? Season's over, whatever. And I've gone, I don't know. And he was like, oh, come and help me out a little bit in the studio if you want. You know, obviously you're interested in this stuff. So I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to do that, I'm not just going to turn up there. I've got to get a qualification in it as well. So I did a diploma, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it.
Is your thing to always, because you are incredibly well qualified, so if you have an interest in something, you are like a real, you obviously read up on things. Is that how you've, is that your mindset? Like, because you're probably, I don't know anyone with as many bloody degrees as what you've got.
How many
or
have you
languages, or...
I've got a degree.
He makes it sound like washing this up. I've only got. I haven't got one. Let's put this clearly out on the table. I've got fuck all. And he's like, I'm fucking...
Speak 4 languages. I've got da-da-da.
Yeah, no, I've got a degree. I've got a master's. I've got a diploma. I'm just doing 2 more diplomas at the moment. So I think, to be fair, a lot of that is me trying to find purpose and trying to give myself something to do, and there needs to be a result at the end of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that was the thing with that diploma in interior design. I was like, right, I want something at the end of it. I want a bit of credibility in this.
People struggle their entire lives to get a degree. He makes it sound like he's off to polish the car. Like, I'm just going to go do something.
And what your latest 2 diplomas? What are they?
Yeah.
The latest 2. So the master's that I just did was in sport directorship. So it's effectively a qualification to be a sporting director. And then
Yeah,
Right.
what does that entail?
What's a sporting director?
A sporting director is somebody who sits between the business side of an organisation and the sporting side, if you like.
Okay.
So use a football club as an example. Sporting director would employ the coach. He would be in charge of all the coaching side, performance, sports science, whatever, but also would be a link to the commercial side and the board. In theory, it doesn't always work.
To make sure both sides sort of marry up.
Make sure everything's aligned. Yeah, and everybody's sort of on the same page. We need a broad understanding of all the different. It's quite a new role, really, but it's not so new in Europe, but it's quite new in this country. But you know, what you cover on it, you cover leadership, you cover governance, you cover innovation and creativity was one of the modules, and operations management, which I'd never done anything like that before. So it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it, and it's applicable it's not a narrow qualification just for that job. I would say it's, you know, across the board, it's quite useful for lots of different things. So I'm thinking about ways that I can now use that for something. And as part of that masters, the first module was on leadership, and we had so there's lots of different leadership theory about what kind of leader you are, or what kind of a leader other people are, and what's a good type of leadership to exhibit, whether it's dominant style, you know, some people react well to that, some people don't, whether, you know, my old boss, I didn't react well to that, whether it's a more cooperative sort of style, authentic, servant leadership. There's loads of different leadership theory out there. Anyway, I digress again. But we were offered the opportunity to work with an executive coach. So an executive coach is someone who you can work with and have basically a structured conversation that will explore where you are now and where you want to get to, and give you some tools potentially to get there, raise your self-awareness, emotional intelligence, that kind of stuff. I didn't know this existed. I sat down with this executive coach, I did a few sessions with him, and it completely transformed the way I thought about myself. I'd always worried that I'd been developing this specific skill set that was really useful for broadcasting live TV, but couldn't translate it to anything else. And he helped me look at that in a different light, those skills, you know, people skills, communication, understanding, empathy, performing under pressure, you know, all of them things, actually, they're totally transferable to lots of other things as well. So I that was a massively positive experience for me to do that course, but also to do the coaching. And then I realised through working with him and working on my purpose and focusing on what is it I really want to do, like when I die, what do I want people to say about me, effectively? Do I want them to say, oh, Matt, yeah, he was good on BSB, you know, or do I want them to say, Matt, yeah, well, he actually really helped me do this, or he had this kind of impact? That, you know, so I'm like, right, so what is that for me? What does that look like? Did a lot of work around that, a lot of reflection, and I decided that I want to use the strengths that I've got to help people. And so I'm doing a diploma in coaching myself now. So I'm going to be, within the next 6 weeks, hopefully, I'll be qualified as a personal performance coach. And then also as part of that, I'm doing a diploma in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is all about how we interpret... sorry, I'm going off on one now.
No, you keep going. This is amazing.
Interpret the world around us and how we can remap our thoughts to help us and to help other people, things like that.
It's incredible. Like just listening to that, I feel like I should interrupt him by saying, you don't worry about getting the degree in it, because you help people regardless. You know, and I think, you know, we were very lucky that we interviewed Lee Johnson, and Lee is very, very open on his vlogs as well as personally, even when he came on this podcast, how you step in. You step in when he needs help, and you step in when people...
He said that about me?
He did, yeah. You know, he massively holds it in huge regard in the fact of, like, the knowledge that you have, you can see something's going to happen before it happens in that regard.
Yeah.
You know, you can see this is going to be an impact further on. It's like, I've, like, using my example, Lee had a serious head injury, and I've actually suffered one myself, and it was mad because when I had one, it was a case of I had people coming up to me in the NHS service going, you're going to go down a rabbit hole here. You know, your mind's going to spin out of control, and without people like yourself or people in those professional parameters pre-warning you of that, you have no idea how dark you can go. And lucky for Lee, he had you round the corner for that. So don't worry about people thinking what they're going to say about us. You're there to help people, man.
Yeah.
You have been helping people.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I want to do that more.
Yeah.
And the stuff, a little bit difficult to talk about, but the stuff with Lee was, he was in a very difficult place physically and also mentally after what happened. And I just knew that I didn't try and do anything really. I just tried to put him in touch with the people I thought might be able to help. So I was really... I don't know what Lee said, so I don't want to open up too much. But Lee got really... We went to this coffee place where, if we've got time, we'll go for and we'll meet it now. But and he got really upset. We were just talking about it, and I came away and I thought, Lee's grieving at the moment, right? Because he was talking about, he looked in the mirror and didn't recognise himself, and he'd been through a massive trauma, and he was kind of grieving something that he wasn't anymore. Do you know what I mean? He'd lost something quite profound at that point.
Yeah. He's
worked incredibly hard to get back to where he is, but from where he was, it's amazing what he's done. So when I was on the great thing about going back and studying again was meeting really cool people, amazing people.
Yeah.
And when I did my masters, one of the fellow students on it was a doctor. He's a surgeon. He specialises in broken jaws and skull fractures and all that kind of stuff. And in certain ways, he's a bit of a psychopath. Like do you know what I mean? He's just like almost cold-blooded. To be able to do a job like that, you almost have to be. And he's funny as hell. But so up until recently, he was head of medical at Stoke City. He's just got a job as head of medical for Scottish Rugby. So he works in sport. He's worked in sport for a long time. He was doing this masters because he wanted to increase his knowledge around sport. But he's a surgeon, and he used to work in the armed forces, and he was like a first responder on battlefields. So he has literally gone out onto a live battlefield and dragged people out of the way, flying bullets, right? So he has dealt with huge traumas, physical traumas, but also mental traumas like PTSD. And I thought, no expert at all, but I thought, I'm sure Lee is like struggling a little bit in that respect. So I rang this guy, Doug, and I said, listen, this is what's happened to my mate. He's really struggling. I don't really know how to help him or what to suggest. What do you think? And he starts explaining it to me, going, well, he's probably dealing with survivor guilt, and he's probably dealing with this, and what he's going through at the minute is completely normal. And in the same way your body's going to require a bit of time to fix itself, it's the same with your head. Just because it feels like this today, it doesn't mean it's going to feel like that tomorrow. It's going to get better, And I was like, do you know what? Everything you just said to me now makes sense. Can I just get him to call you directly and you just talk to him? So he did. And Lee always says that he spoke to a psychologist in the first instance. He's talking about Doug. Doug's not a psychologist, so he's not a qualified psychologist, but everything that Doug said made sense to him. He came off the phone. Lee rang me up. He's like, I've just been on the phone with your mate for an hour, and I just feel so much better. Everything he said made total sense to me. Like, I feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel. I feel I can start working towards something now. And we went over then. He's got surgery in Blackpool, Doug has. So we drove over a week or two after. We just had a cup of tea with him. We had a massive long conversation.
Class.
Shed a few tears and stuff like that. And so the credit really belongs to Doug. But I was in that position where I was able to put him in contact.
I tell you, I want to briefly talk about this. I was my other half, Lauren. She absolutely in love with the sport rugby, absolutely obsessed with it. And what was interesting is in the gum shields now, they wear there's like a sensor in the gum shield for like concussion. What? Yeah, I don't know enough about it. Do you know a lot about that?
I don't know a lot about it, but this did come up in one of the sessions on the. Did I mention I've done a masters?
Yeah, drop that in there, son. I like it.
We were talking about concussion protocol, and Doug, so he's one of these guys, like I said, he's a bit, typical surgeon. He puts his hand up, he's got, I've got a story actually, and you're thinking, oh my God, it could be like...
This could be anything from Doug.
It could be a rugby league player who's got chlamydia, and they've had to cover it up to the press.
The thing is, that's clearly a story.
It is.
That came up a story, yeah.
Can we get Doug on the show after that? Like, we need Doug here.
Yeah. And he's proper, or it could be like some soldier getting his head blown off on a back. It could be anything. Like, you're like, oh my God, what's he going to say? Anyway, he was telling us about concussion protocol in rugby because he was working in it. And obviously, that's it. Skull caps and all the rest of it. And he was saying that it's really difficult to clinically assess somebody for concussion because everybody's different. So if, let's say you wear a gum shield or they put a microchip into a helmet, same now with racing, if they were to do that.
Yeah.
Just because you've taken a certain amount of force to your head doesn't mean that you're going to get knocked out, whereas you might, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And the implications of that are completely different. So I think it's a really complicated and...
Bit like you could punch two people in the arm and one might break their arm, one might not.
Yeah.
But for a head injury.
Exactly.
No, I was just wondering, because obviously they've brought it into a sport, like it's as massive as rugby on that side of things, and obviously they're scaling it after that. And I'm thinking, is that something that our sport's going to see? But you've literally just explained it. That
we already have in place in BSB now. We do have a concussion protocol in place now, so we do. We just basically do tests. So you do one's like a light test, reaction test, because it has to be. Per person, yeah. You might have one person who's actually really rubbish at the light, so you have to test them before they get a knock.
Yeah, so you've got
as well as afterwards. You need a base, so we do it like 2 or 3 times a year to gauge that exact base. And then they also do certain things like you have to remember a shopping list, and you have to do certain things.
How long's that been in place?
A couple of years, I think now.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's just for our class at the moment, but certainly something they want to roll out.
Yeah.
Do you think that's good?
Yeah. Yeah, I certainly know that I took a hit when Rory Skinner ran into the back of me at Alton.
Yeah.
And I raced at Brands. I missed the round at Donington, which I missed because I was with you guys, and then I raced the following round, and I know I was in no fit state to race, and I shouldn't have raced, and it's bad that I know that, and nothing happened. Got round fine.
You're always going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So us as riders, we need someone to take you out of that point.
Yeah.
And as well, because it's not a physical injury where you literally can or cannot, you pretty much always can.
Yeah.
With a head injury.
Yeah. More
or less, you might be miles off the pace, but pretty much you always can. But you're not fully. It's cloudy. And my thought process were not right in the slightest, and I realised that probably not quite at the time, but not long afterwards, and I thought, flip, that's really bad. Like, I was not fit for being on track with a load of other people.
It's good you can say that.
Here's a question. You're a HGC rider.
Yeah.
And that sponsorship, is that through Oxford? So they're the importers?
Yeah, Oxford Products are the importers.
They're the importers.
HGC. Yeah.
Because you're sponsored by them, do you have to return your lids after a crash?
No.
It's just interesting you're saying about...
I do know that. I think there's companies that X-ray lids and stuff like that.
Well, it's just that's a very good idea, that, the microchip, obviously it's the same with the gum shield, it's a pressure system. It's just...
There was someone, a university student actually, that was years back actually, she was doing I don't know exactly what she was doing, but it was the effects of sport and not the impact on the body, but what the body goes through. And one thing she put on it was I think it was on my earlobe she put it, but that was if I had a crash, that was to measure G-force and stuff like that. Well, it was all the time, but it was what the body goes through.
Yeah. No, it's just like that microchip technology. Obviously, all the helmets have to fit to a certain criteria, for safety approval. But it's interesting that, the fact that you can't replicate live environment. You know what I mean? You can put rams and do all sorts, but you can't replicate an actual...
No, each individual human's reaction.
You're a committed human being, if you're going to do it live. You know what I mean? Every weekend, day in, day out. No, but it's interesting because that's the future of sport. But let's talk about the future of sport, because you've gone from, I don't want to get it as hard a question as, what does the sport need, to go forward or anything like that. Let's talk about the immediate future. Let's talk about the up and coming season, specifically BSB, because that's what you're a part of.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to it? And he can't really answer that any other way, can he?
I can't. No,
not really. Fucking shite.
Yeah. I love BSB. I think it's brilliant. As a standalone product, I think it's just, the racing is great. The characters are good. It's brilliant, and every season is different. You know what I mean? So every year at this point, everyone goes, who do you fancy? And you could pick one of 5 guys, and most of the time you'd be wrong. So it'd be really interesting. Obviously, we're hoping for big things from Christian this year. Back on the same bike.
Grace is praying on it.
Ouch! As we do every year. He just fired that in at the end. Let down.
I didn't mean it like that.
He did.
Believe in it.
He did.
But no, another year on the same bike again, and from the outside, objectively, you'd have to say Christian's going to be there, and Glenn should be there as well. Kyle and Ryan Vickers will be there, for sure.
It's hard to put a finger on it.
And then you look at, like, I think the Honda is a bit of a question mark. What's going to go on there? How's Tommy going to do on that bike? How well is Andy going to be able to come back? As B injury on it that he had last year, but definitely a potential race winner and title contender if everything's right there. And then let's see what else gets thrown up in the mix. But you can't really predict it, can you? You don't really know.
I really think you can't with BSB. I mean, there's not a great deal of rule changes this year. We're knocked down to the one rear tyre. I don't know if that makes it... Well, you call it one option, but I don't know if one is an option. Is it?
I don't know. Well, one option,
yeah. It's not an option, is it?
One thing. You're left with one
thing.
It's
like, what's the smallest queue? Is it one person or is it
it's
two
not
people?
A queue if it's one person.
Exactly.
I get it. Do you know what? Your logic cracks me up. You said something to me, and I must think about it at least once a week, right? we met somewhere.
I'm worried now.
Here we go.
And you said to me, he goes, in a sat-nav, it offers you like a slower route sometimes, right? It'll give you like your blue line, then you get grey one, it'll say 20 minutes slower. And you said to me, if I keep taking that slower option, would I ever get to my destination? Right, and every time, because we use a sat-nav.
It's one of life's conundrums.
I know, and I was like, every time I have the sat-nav on, I think of you, because I go, I don't know, mate, I still don't know the answer to that question.
It's when the wife phones him up and go, why are you not home yet? Well,
I'm here to prove Christian Iddon wrong.
Yeah, you know me, love, I'm all in. Like, if I'm going to find out the answer, that's it. So, yeah. But yeah, one of the last questions, do you ever get home if you follow the Great Line? And what's the shortest queue? And how many options is
an option? So yeah, we're down to just the harder of what we had of the two options last year. So it's not really a rule change, it's just that we're all destined to use the harder tyre. That's pretty much it, but it shouldn't really make massive differences to the racing or anything like that. There's no major changes, so it should be all pretty much of a muchness, and the racing is, I was going to say second to none, but in all honesty, I've absolutely loved watching World Superbike this year, to be fair.
Yeah, it's been good, hasn't it, so far?
Oh, here we go.
Typical of me to walk away from it just when it starts to get good.
But it genuinely is, like, it seems to... World Superbike for me for a few years was kind of one of them where, like, I love my bikes, but I can take it or leave it, and like this year it's just absolutely insane.
I must admit there was an element of that for me, like, as well, as well as everything else. You go and you're like, oh God, Bautista just walking off with it.
How do you make that exciting?
Race.
For you, it must have been.
And you're just saying the same thing, asking the same questions over and over. It's not fun. For you, from
a TV and from that side of things, did you find it hard to, like, maybe not falsely, but kind of falsely, like, try and create this?
Yeah,
thing like, oh, can somebody beat Bautista? You know in your heart, like,
it's like a showdown, isn't it? It's like, whoever it might be, Lee Jackson snuck into the showdown in sixth position, and we're all going to pretend now that he's a title contender. Sorry, Lee, but just
Lee is an example.
As an example, and it's been you as well, Christian. And, it's been everybody, but you're going into the last race, and you're like, well, mathematically, if everybody crashes, he's still got a chance, you know. So of course, that's part of telling the story, and that's why the showdown was always great for BSB, because there's always a story. And yes, you might be hamming it up, and yes, you might be like, all right, come on, this ain't gonna happen. You haven't won a race all year. You ain't gonna win 6 on the bounce now, is it? But you never know. Yeah. So that's the story you tell. So yeah, of course, like, but when Bautista was really running away with it, you really are struggling then to go, right, we all know what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
But hey, it's racing. And the one thing I always did think about Bautista was that over the course of his career, he did make quite a few mistakes at certain points when he was under pressure. And I did think, and I'm not just saying this for hindsight, but when he went on that winning run, was it start 2019, 11 race or whatever, I thought, one little mistake here and it could go tits, and it did. So yeah, you never know, do you? But yeah, it is quite a hard sell sometimes, and you do know that people outside are going, come on. Really? But yeah, BSB, brilliant. I can't wait. Looking forward to Navarra as well.
It's going to be interesting. Bit of Spanish sun for you. You like it? You're home from home.
I know. Practice the old Espanol.
Because we've got the 4 classes, haven't we? Only going. That's right. So we've got Super Sport, Superbike, Sport Bike class,
and BMWs,
and the F900s element. So it's almost a shame. I would love to have been on the table where they made the decision protocol for why only the 4? Why not everyone? You know, is it just because it's a new circuit?
I'd say it's kind of for one, it's a soft entry into it, isn't it? And 2, there's a big cost involved in getting.
Yeah.
But people can, which is fair enough. But I think, you know, it's like when you think of like to be blunt, like the F900 is like it's the lowest class. You know, they're the facts on the side of it. But then the fact that it's the lower class is supposed to be the most affordable class. Yet the rounds at Navarra,
well, you'd have to assume, and I don't know this for a fact, but you'd have to assume that BMW are going to pay for that.
Yes, yeah, well, there has to be a support mechanism on that side.
Whereas if you're, you know, running a little privateer team in Super Sport or Stock 600 or whatever, you know, and you've got to foot that bill yourself, it's not that practical, is it?
You've been about, obviously, on the race scene, the whole media side of things, and you've said about how it's moved from different channels and broadcasters, and what can anything be done to make the show more appealing to a wider audience? Because we are still we're a small scale sport. You were saying about how you'd sit in Spain and you'd read the daily newspaper and it was all criviers on the front news, like front page news. How do we get Tommy Bridewell on the front because he's champion? How do you get Tommy Bridewell on the front of
the Daily Star?
Yeah, something like that. You know, is there a way? Are we always going to be fringe, or like is there?
It's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yes.
I think the answer is you need one person who's going to become a star in that sport and take it to the mainstream. So we possibly missed an opportunity with Carl Crutchlow, I think, in that, you know, when I was presenting on the Beeb, Cal was coming through in MotoGP and he was starting to do okay and stuff. And then he started winning races, but that was after it went to BT, and that was a small audience, especially at that time at the beginning, you know. It went from being, it still wasn't mainstream on the BBC, but you get on BBC Two, we're getting 1.2 million average, something like that. Yeah. On a good day, 1.4. It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then the British Grand Prix, they put it on BBC One, we got 3 million. Because people still in that habit of when they turn the TV on, they check what's on BBC One first. Still, like I do it. It's on BBC One and then you go up, don't you? So we got 3 million viewers for the British Grand Prix. Now, they're never going to get that. You know, on TNT, I don't know exactly what the figures are, but you're talking six figures anyway. So when Cal had that little spell where he won a few races and stuff, if that had been on terrestrial TV and Cal was the sort of person that would have gone on breakfast TV to talk about it on Monday morning, or he'd have gone on I'm a Celebrity, or he'd have done all the things that you need to do to get that mainstream attention, maybe then would have got a bit of traction. Yeah. That opportunity, you know, was, you know, for obviously loads of different reasons, didn't happen. And that's an idealist kind of reflection to look back and go, if the stars had have aligned then, maybe. But now, I mean, it's probably another podcast talking about the future of British races in MotoGP and things like that. But without somebody, I think, at the top level with global appeal, winning,
that's right, though, isn't it?
It's difficult.
It needs to be more than just in the sport. It's like like Guy Martin for the TT.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He elevated that. You know, Barry Sheen was known as more of a playboy than obviously known as a racer. But then it was like the bad boy element. You know what I mean? James Hunt. You know, the F1. You know, it's that kind of element. But Guy Martin for the roads was humongous.
Yeah.
And then before that, Joey Dunlop. But then.
Yeah, but this is a different level, you know, what Guy's done, you know, the documentaries and the books and the type of person he is taking the TT to a whole new audience.
100%. Are you at the TT this year? So he's back on the home ground. Happy days.
Yeah. That's one thing that I really look forward to. Them 2 weeks there, just brilliant. When the weather's good as well, you know, and things are going well, it's the best place. It has the element of, you know, it can be sometimes the worst place to be, but most of the time it's just...
What was your first TT? Not working. No, hey, tell you what, there's a question. Off air and on air. Your first TTs.
I'm afraid they were both the same.
There we are.
I can't pretend that I used to go and sit on the, you know...
Hey, got to be honest, mate. Got to be honest.
Flasking sandwiches when I was 6 years old, legs dangling over the wall. No, I
went for the cheddar.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. 09, I think it was. I was doing already bits and bats with the BBC. I was a pit lane reporter already on MotoGP. and Craig Doyle was presenting at the time the TT on ITV, and he had a wedding or something like that. He couldn't do 2 days, so they drafted me in, and I just covered him for 2 days. So that was 2009, I think.
How much homework did it take? Because you find a lot of BSB riders jump into the TT, and it's the audience seems quite the same. No, sorry, competitors. How much homework did you have to do for your first run?
Oh, I did as much.
Be honest.
Honestly, I did as much as I could have possibly have done. I've got the books inside, the 100 years of the TT or whatever it was. The annuals, motor course, whatever. The equivalent history books around it. DVDs. VHSs actually, that might have been in 2009. I can't remember. No, DVDs. Did as much as I could.
Yeah,
I think that was a crossover period. I think 99 was a crossover period.
Yeah, it was on it, yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've got it. Is it ITV got it again?
Yes.
Who do I have to write a letter to let ITV know there's more than 4 competitors at the TT? You know what I mean? You've got 60 competitors across the whole world to go down there, and it's just like I have to get my binoculars out to see Matt Roberts. Hello, son.
I've got a better idea, lad.
And I'm shitting myself in the portal before I go.
Come on, Matt. Tell him how to fix that.
Go faster.
There is that.
You can be one of the 4.
You could be one of the... No, but it just... Oh, mate.
Just go faster.
No. The thing is, right, everyone...
That's easy, isn't it? Yeah.
I generally get people coming to me going, it's only 4 competitors.
Yeah. Sometimes you do see
I'm sorry. It's the most gladiator sport going. No one can make you go, no nothing. And the worst... this is the best thing about the BBC. Any other sport, British, like MotoGP, everyone gets their name put there. And anyone who sponsors £100 to £100 grand, they just want to see their rider there. And for God's sake, why can't there just be a list? Who is competing? You don't have to put, it'd be great to put them out in every corner. Oh, so and so. But even a list of going, these are the competitors. This rare bunch of psychopaths have lined up for an entertaining.
Yeah.
And the thing, and for me, people who want to go watch, and the Isle of Man, as you know, and have you been to watch TT?
Oh, aye.
They are, but you see, people, if there was only 4 people in any discipline, people wouldn't watch. It's not racing. People want to go, people have the respect for the person at the back to the Pete Hickmans at the front.
Yeah.
And you just think, for me, it's just, can you not have, you just, there you are.
Yeah.
Even to the side while you're all grafting your arse off, chatting the Dunlop and just go, this is the grid. If you can get that done, I'll give you 20 quid. Because that's all I've got. That's all I've got, son. You know what I mean? No,
you've already given me a can of Diet Coke and a pack of...
that's all Grace.
AA batteries.
Matt's literally been paid in an 8-pack of AA's.
It's 6. The budget's not that good.
Pack.
I'm sorry. The
6-pack, but they are Duracell. Listen, given a choice, there's a Londis over the road there and Aldi here. And he says to me, I need to go get some batteries. I said, they've got Londis down there, Aldi. And he went, I'll go to Londis. The Aldi batteries, I'll need to change them after the interview. We've got Duracell.
Duracell.
So, yeah.
Well, obviously, you kindly went in I had to nick some off Lee, God love him. And then I'm like, come down, I forgot the batteries here. This is no good. And you've got up, you haven't got any.
Well, I've got 3 small kids in the house, so batteries don't last very long.
There we are. So they're from Grace of Chasin the Racin by our sponsors. So there you are. The world goes round, like you were saying. Happy days.
The again, because you're an insider, MotoGP has just been taken over by the F1 promoters for some obscene amount of money.
Yeah.
4.5 billion.
Yeah.
Good thing, bad thing, or do we just not know until it happens?
Very good, mate.
It's got to be good on it, because look at Formula 1 now.
Yeah.
What have done with that?
Question. The popularity element. When Drive to Survive came in from Netflix, that boosted, in my opinion. I did not watch F1. My other half didn't watch F1. My sisters didn't watch F1. But when they watched Drive to Survive, it dragged in a huge... Everyone was talking about it. And because it saw that human element, you talk about all the time, you want to get involved in it. And it dragged that in, and F1 went up higher. So I agree with you. It's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do a show. I mean, there was a show, wasn't there? MotoGP one.
Yeah, only got one series, didn't it?
Yeah.
There was a... Was it Netflix or Amazon? It was one of the two, wasn't it? And
it wasn't very
2
good.
years ago, I think it was.
Yeah, I actually think Dorna might have produced it themselves for Amazon or whoever it was. I think.
Right.
But yeah, I'm sure that Liberty will come in and do something completely different. But yeah, you're right. Obviously, there's that human element. The thing is that our sports now, we're not just competing with other sports. You're competing with so much stuff to try and get people's attention, right? You, it's a fight for eyeballs and attention. People have a short attention span now as well.
Yeah.
So you're not just competing against, it's not MotoGP competing against BSB, World Superbikes, Formula One, football. You're competing against TikTok. You're competing against computer games.
Yeah.
Whatever it is they play, Fortnite, Minecraft, and my kids play. Like, you got to try and drag people away from it to, you know, there's so much stuff out there now for people to get into. But just to go back to what you were saying about the ITV thing, if it's any kind of consolation to you all, this streaming platform now that they have with TT Plus and everything, that's the future. You know, and that's where you get the opportunity to tell all these stories and to introduce all these characters alongside, you know, the Between the Hedges and the, you know, the other little supplementary stuff. So the TTA is sort of going that way already with the Drive to Survive style, a docuseries, a film, loads of little bits of social media content through the year, so that the event doesn't just become a 2-week event once a year, but it's around the year thing that people can still get content from and enjoy, sort of, you know, which is a massive challenge, and I think they do that really well.
They do a fantastic job of it.
So the ITV highlights thing now, you know, having a highlights package of a race, I'm not saying it's a thing of the past, it's not, it still has a place, but it's not everything anymore. It's not the one place that people are going to get to watch the TT.
I suppose it's catering for all needs, isn't it? You've got those sort of not super fans, but they'll watch it when it's on and they just want to see the, like you say, the highlights and who's the top 3 or 4, and that's it. Yeah. Then you've got the avid fans that do want to see more, and they're like, right, how's my mate getting on? Or I've bunged him 20 quid, or I did something else. Or...
But then it expands the popularity of it. You know, people feel like they get involved in it more, feel like if they could sponsor a rider, they've got more direct involvement in something that is unachievable. If you know what I mean, it's like that's best.
I guess one's to drag people in, a bit like the whole thing with Guy Martin. So people start watching the TT because Guy's in it, and then they realise that, oh, actually, I quite like such a body because he lives near me, or, you know, they then pick up on someone else, and it filters down, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it's just keeping that momentum going. You know? It's like, and that's the thing, and it's like, but unfortunately, the programs like leading up. Very, very valid point. You know, it is evolving, it is adapting, but prior to that, it was very stagnant, in my opinion. It was the same riders, the same corners, the same... Jesus, we're not parked on Heathrow Airport, by the way. We're parked outside of his house. If you can hear that. Jesus, get some speed bumps in there. But I think Christian has brought up the perfect time to get some amazing Patreon questions.
Yeah, I'm just looking through some of the Patreon stuff. And actually, we were talking about it before, but Stephen Mason has asked, what do you get up to off-season? Now, you did touch on it, but you said you've had a bit of a quieter winter than usual. But in general... apart from studying and stuff, or is that you? Yeah,
probably from 2016 on, when I realised that these quiet winters weren't doing me any good. I've always been up to something, so I've ghostwritten books. You know, I did the Casey Stoner book. That was actually back in 2013. Go on, Dom.
I was about to say, please rack off the list. Like, Holden, you wrote Leathered for John Hopkins.
Yeah.
You've done Casey Stoner's books, and this is between everything else that he's doing.
Normally being like a winter project, you know, so... Yeah, so I did the Stoner one, I think that was 2013. I did one with Steve Parrish. I did my interior design diploma in 2016. I did one with Steve Parrish, this Parrish Times. I did one with Shaky, I think that was 2018. Did that, 18-19, when he had his injury. And then I did one with John Hopkins, which was, to be honest, the one I was really looking forward to doing. And
well, the thing about your books is... it's not just about bike racing. It's a human connection story. You know, it's like everything that John went through and like how it was portrayed. It was. Yeah, I'm not just saying this because you're in front of us. It's a fucking good book, son.
Yeah, John's story is not about bike racing, really, is it?
No.
Bike racing is there as a narrative for all. It's a book about addiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Really. So it was a massive honour to do that with him, and I really enjoyed that process. And then the last couple of winters, I've been doing. Don't know if I mentioned I've done a Masters. So that's what's kept me going. And then this last winter has been a bit quiet work-wise. You know, it turns out it's been quite quiet. So I've been doing my coaching stuff, the diploma and house renovations, and trying to keep my kids entertained.
Which is very difficult, probably.
Very difficult.
So Mark And I'm going to do two in one. Mark has asked, do you have favourite riders in each class, or do you have to remain impartial? I'm sure you have both, but you can answer both anyway. And then Jess has said, Jess Mortimer, how hard is it to get something out of races that isn't a generic media-savvy response? Because surely you get frustrated sometimes when you know maybe you're trying to get something out of someone they maybe don't, or does that not happen in BSB?
I don't think it happens that much. Not in the role that I have, especially. I tend to just the way the dynamic is now with me. Whit tends to do the sit down interviews with you guys on a Thursday, Friday, or whatever. Greg was doing that in World Superbikes. So my job is sort of reactive stuff in between and just linking everything together. So and it's not the sort of place where you're really going to start pushing people to be uncomfortable, and that's never been my style anyway.
Because obviously you're friends with Charlie, aren't you, Hiscott, and he's quite he'll ask the hard questions, won't he?
Oh yeah.
He's had a few really strong ones, hasn't he, where he's gone in quite sort of
hard. Oh yeah, he has, yeah. But that's him, that's his character. That's not really my character.
But
I think they're
so
both
for you, watching on, so you're listening in to some interviews and stuff, and do you think, say it how it is when he gets the reply though, because usually no one's ever really bitten back yet, have they?
Not really. I think they all know him well enough that they take it in the right way. And look, I always think, and I've always said this, and I'll say it to any young rider now, you can't control the question that you're asked, but you can always control your answer. So it doesn't matter. It's not my fault. If I ask you a question you don't like, so what? It's still in your control how you respond to that. So you should never complain about somebody asking you a difficult question, because it's still up to you how you answer it. So, you're in control in that situation.
With that said, is there any rider that you wouldn't stick a mic under?
No, because...
if they're revved up, dirty moves, something like that.
It's
anyway,
changed a lot. And, look, it's whether or not it's appropriate or not, and what you're looking to get out of it. I won't ever want to make someone look stupid. Right, so, for example, Laguna Seca 2008, massive fight between Valentino and Casey Stoner, right? They come back down, and Casey's pissed off, right? Because, Valentino's been doing everything he could to slow him down, because he clearly was slower than him that day, but he managed to beat him. And they come back into Parc Ferme, and I'm the guy there with the microphone, and Casey comes across to me. Valentino gets off his bike, takes his helmet, and they start chipping at each other. And I'm like, do I put the mic under this and get a bit, or do I step back? And at first, I sort of started putting the mic in, and then it picked up a couple of words, and I thought, do you know what, no, because this isn't going to be good for either of them. People might get off on it a little bit, but and also for my relationship with both of them as well, it wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, you might have got them in the moment, but that might have burnt your bridges. Is that what you mean?
Exactly, yeah, longer term. So I've always been conscious of that too. I rely on these guys and my relationships with these guys to do my job well. And if I was to ruin that just by trying to force them to do something, they'd be like, so.
And the first part of that one because nobody can help having favourite riders. You're friends with a lot of them.
Yeah.
Is it hard to remain impartial when you're doing your bits? And
no.
You find it quite...
Yeah, no, honestly, no. I can sit and watch a race and be literally, we all do it. We're grabbing each other. I was helping Shaky look after Brad Ray a couple of years ago, which arguably, some people thought I shouldn't be doing because it was a bit of a conflict of interest. But during the race, I'd be wanting Brad to win, but literally as soon as that flag went down, there was not one bit of me that was acting in any other way than I would have normally acted. I don't think so anyway. Maybe there was, but definitely not consciously. So yeah, you have your favourites over the years, but I can honestly say hand on heart that I've never let it affect
the job. Yeah. No, I love it. You
crack on.
Oh no, I've got one from Aaron Jeffs. My dream job is to get into motorsport, especially the commentary side. Have you got any top tips how to start?
I'm probably not the person to ask about this because
get on a hippie bus.
Yeah, exactly.
Get yourself down.
Go on a really obscure reality TV show.
That's it.
Yeah.
Learn Spanish. Really fancy your Spanish teacher.
Yeah.
And lie through your teeth about your friends. I think you've answered everything, to be honest.
That's basically it. Yeah. So from my experience, that is it. I mean,
I love it. Don't be afraid to say.
Follow your heart. Do what you're interested in. Never be afraid to take a challenge on, no matter how weird it seems. And always say yes to things because you can always say no later. So just do it. And if you don't like it, you can back out. but then more practically speaking, I think at the moment now you've got guys like Dave Neale, who does some other podcast, I believe.
We have not paid him to say that, by the way. If anyone's listening,
I've seen him traipsing around with a microphone in his hands. Cheap thing. Tom Dave Neale. Well, but Dave was a fan.
Yeah,
and he's fair play to him. He's
working hard at it. He's fair play to him.
And so he's an example of you can do it that way.
Yeah.
Tom Brooks, who's commentating on, he's actually commentating on Formula E now, believe it or not. He's still only about 15. But Tom started this motorsport radio thing.
Right.
With Lester, I'm sorry, I forget his name. Literally, like, nowadays the world is so open, isn't it, with YouTube and podcasting and stuff like that you can just put yourself out there, get a bit of practice, get involved.
You would be a daily advice. If you had to pick a co-host to join you on if you were going to start your own podcast, it would dwarf this. It would be out of business, 100% out of business. If you could pick a co-host, who would you pick?
A motorcycle racing podcast?
No, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, bollocks of that. Any podcast.
Because I have
Doug.
podcast.
Yeah, any podcast.
You have?
You have.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's bad how we just said that.
Yeah, and it isn't,
Really?
and it is not blowing anyone out of the water at the minute. It's called Wider Goals. It's available on all your...
Right.
And it's all about how this sense of purpose was talking about before.
Sorry, is this a new thing then?
Yeah.
No, Wider Goals.
September, yeah. I've only done 6 episodes.
That's our journey home.
But
It is. It is.
Yeah. Episode 1 is a good one. Goes downhill after that.
Okay, Grace, edit that little bit out of it. That'll be...
No, I'm only kidding.
And is it just you, or do you have people?
So it's
I am going to listen, but... All right.
So the episode 1 is with a guy called Jason Stockwood, right? He's the owner of Grimsby Town. He's self-made millionaire.
You mean the football club, not literally
Yeah,
Grimsby
the town, yeah. It's not that cheap, how
Might
many?
as well
Jesus.
be. No, yeah, the football club. Part owner. I think he's joint owner. He's a super interesting guy with an amazing story. Mm-hmm. And I actually wanted him to be my co-host on this new podcast idea that I'd had. And sat down, had a good chat with him about it, and he thought about it, and he said, I don't really have the time at the minute to be a co-host, but I'll be a guest on your first episode. How about that?
Class.
So that's why he was the episode 1. So I'll give that a listen, Wider Goals, and you'll see what it's about. It's about connecting higher purpose and performance in sport. I've got some pretty interesting guests on it.
Good.
And,
100% listen to that.
Without a doubt.
100%.
Without a doubt.
On a similar note in terms of choosing, but Jason's asked if you could pick 2 riders since you've been involved in it, from BSB, MotoGP and World Superbike, from the whole time you've been in it, who would be your 2 riders? I guess it's like a team type thing.
To set a team up?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine. Well, one would be Casey Stoner for sure. I got to know Casey a little bit because I was working for Dorna when he did a wildcard in 2001. Mm-hmm. And so I got to know him a little bit then. He used to come into the office with his dad. And I always just looked out from in the paddock. He used to live in a little trailer just like this, actually probably a bit smaller than this, at the racetrack. And I used to come around and sit with him and have a cup of tea and chat and whatever. And I always followed his career. We were talking about favourite riders, and then it really worked in my favour when he got to MotoGP because I had access to Casey that other people just couldn't get, and he really helped me in my career at that point with the BBC because they thought I was great. I could get to speak to people like him and Lorenzo and stuff. Anyway, Casey's a great guy, super talent, obviously everybody knows that, but he's also a lovely person, and he would probably be hard to work with, I think, but you'd need a rider like that in your team, don't you? Just like someone who's going to give it everything. And so he'd be one, and then a second one, I don't know. Who could you counter that with? You probably need someone who's a bit of a nicer bloke. Should we go with Chaz Davis?
Good choice.
Not a nicer bloke. Casey's a really nice bloke. I would just mean a bit more amenable.
So is he part of your World Superbike or your MotoGP?
Do I have to do all?
Yeah.
Do I have to do them all?
No, do them all.
Oh shit! Okay. So
go. Don't overthink. Just fire.
Friggin' hell. Well, I better say Crutchlow, Anna. So we'll go with Stoner and Crutchlow MotoGP.
Yep.
Good squad.
I think yeah.
Very nice.
Be a good laugh. And
so you got Chaz.
And do you know what? I think Stoner would benefit from having Crutchlow. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They bounce off each other pretty well, stuff like that. So World Superbike, yeah, Chaz, definitely. Let's chuck Brad Ray in there. Because, like I said, I had a little bit of involvement with Brad over the last few years, and I really like him, and I think he's a super talent as well. And, if things go his way, it'd be nice to be able to, if you're going to set up a team, it'd be nice to be able to give him the tools to go and do something good. BSB, obviously, Christian.
Oh, how weird, man. No.
Obviously.
Christian's looking at me like, why?
Finally get the job done.
All he needs is a good team manager.
So you got Christian and
then someone who's going to bring in a lot of money, obviously. So
hold on a minute. I love it. I'll tell you what, I've got.
You need a doer and a payer, don't you?
Well, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I'm neither of them, son. So that's the unfortunate.
I feel sorry for Will because we're a one-rider team. Then
he's
got neither.
Oh, it's class. I'll tell you what, I've got.
Is that the deal? You've either got to do it or you're going to have to pay.
Yeah. I hope not.
The pressure's on.
I didn't read that line of the contract.
I'll find out this year.
I like it. We've got a quick one from Darren Mears. Matt, my favourite grid walk ever was the one featuring Cal returning your passport.
Yeah, I knew that'd come up. Yeah. It's amazing how many people remember that, you know.
I remember it now.
I don't hardly ever get recognised in the supermarket or whatever, but if I do, and someone like, you know, they want a conversation starter to just, you know, it's a nice thing, but it's always a bit like they want to say that they know you and they'll go, oh, found your passport yet, man?
That's the episode.
I'm like that. I'm like in Aldi there and I'm just, you know, chucking some...
That's the episode
protein
title right there, isn't it?
like.
You found your passport. That is 100% the episode.
You not find when people... Because obviously you're so recognisable from all your TV stuff, and do you find it a bit odd? Because I do sometimes, because people often talk to you as if you're supposed to know them.
Yeah.
So somebody will go, all right, mate. And I'm like...
Mate, do the
and I do that thing going, yeah, how are you? And I'm I don't know. And I'm thinking, do I know this person? Like, and I have to front it up. I don't exactly. I don't want to be rude.
I know. I'll tell you this one real quick. Right, this is when I was doing the BBC stuff, and I was getting recognised more than I do now. Let's say. Well, again, it wasn't all the time, but every so often, someone would be like, "Oh, I'm sure I know you," or like that thing where you said they just say hello. Anyway, I'm in this electrical shop down here, buying some strip lights for the kitchen. Go in. Told him what I wanted. Guy says to me, I know you from somewhere. I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I thought, I definitely don't know this guy. He says, yeah. He goes, I've definitely seen you somewhere. I'm like, don't know. So anyway, he goes off to get these lights and comes back to the counter. He's like, oh God, this is really annoying me. I'm sure I know you from somewhere. Like, I'm not going to be able to rest until I know where it is. So I says, okay. I says, do you watch motorbike racing on the TV? He says, no. I'm like, oh. He goes, I know where it is now. He says, you were at the Vengeance House on Sunday night at this party. He goes, you were pissed up flat out on the kitchen floor. I was like, yeah, that was me, mate. How much do you want for these lights? So that was a humbling lesson. I never do that ever again. Watch motorbikes on the TV. Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't want to go anywhere from after that. I'm going to be honest with you. That's absolutely fantastic. I tell you what.
And that's what you want to be remembered as.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Exactly.
Flat out on the dance floor. Absolutely brilliant. But I tell you what, I'm going to quickly.
Yeah, that's what people say at my funeral.
That is mint. I tell you what, I'm going to have to quickly go through these Peter. We had so many. Honestly, there's that many questions. I'm trying to think today.
Oh, asking about the passport.
No, yeah, pretty much.
We covered loads. There's loads
we've covered loads of them, absolutely loads of them. So I'm just gonna Cyril, always asking after you. Well, Cyril, Craig, Erin, Thomas. We've got Darren. Obviously asked CJ. Oh, hold on. What was that one? You could pick one rider, living or dead, and ask them one interview question. What would it be? Oh, sorry, I couldn't go past that one, CJ.
Oh,
that's a very good question.
No, if you could bring back one, yeah, go on.
All right, I'll tell you what. So
CJ,
we're joking there about this idea of purpose, right, and why you do things and what you want to do. And when we were talking last week at the North Yorkshire Road Race Sports Club, we were talking about this book that I'm doing at the minute with a rider. So I'm doing another book right now. Can't really say a lot about it, but it's all about what makes you want to do it, right? And I think that's a really pertinent question when it comes to the TT, because that's one thing that people can't get their head around, because they can't bring themselves to look at life through the lens of that person. So probably, I think a lot of people talk about Mike Aylward's comeback to the TT being the greatest comeback of the TT ever. After everything that he had, the money in the bank, the success that he'd had and everything, why? why did you come back?
A lot.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That was the question.
It's not just another TT story. It's like leathered. You know what I mean? It's about addiction. It's like the mindset of it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I just really hope. I know you can't.
Human condition, isn't it? And I think that's what's interesting about motorcycle racing in general, but it becomes really crystallised at the TT. That's what interests me about it.
So you bring Mike back and
just say, why? Why'd you do it again?
That is a great. Yeah. I like that. I do
Very
like
good
that. Your mate Tumu.
I know. I even said that I've still not.
Yeah, no, I think
Upsetting
that's
to me.
sarcastic, mate. I hope everyone's well. Still not upset with Christian. He took the piss out of our patrons. And bear in mind, if we don't have patrons, the show doesn't exist.
Yeah.
He was 10 minutes into his new gig as a co-host on the show, and he was
Single-handedly losing Patreons.
ripping into them. Absolutely brilliant.
Also, to isolate
Your audience.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, thank you so much to Richard, Jason, Cyril, 2 questions, Stephen, Tony, good man, Tony, Luke, Wayne, Mark, Maggie, and Jess, Stephen again, Tony Rolls again. I tell you what, we could be here all day with all the Patreon questions for you, but unfortunately, you've got a family to get back to and get the extension done. You've got so much going on.
I've got to go and buy Whitham coffee now as well, isn't it?
There is
so
that.
Charlie Hiscott's visiting today. He's on his way to see somebody in Leeds or something. So he's come to the little cafe that we always go to here to meet us for a brew. So if you lads have got time, and
Sounds good to me.
You've got family as well to get back to, Christian. So
He's at nursery today.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So
He's got time for coffee. He's always got time for coffee, is
we'll go
Christian.
see Charlie and wait for a brew then.
Oh, love it. Absolutely love it. Well, before the house cleaning, I've got a notebook since I stuffed my skull in, I lost my short-term memory. And this notebook is an absolute lifesaver. It's come back now, but temporarily I was just like, like a typical bloke thing. You put your keys down and go, where I put them? But I was doing that, sat down with a remote in my hand. Like, oh, where's the remote?
Where's the TV?
And I totally scooped out.
What am I doing in Asda?
That's it. Why am I in Aldous looking for batteries? What's going on?
Where's the TVs? What he would have been asking if he left his front door open.
Yeah, around here.
Around here. I thought it was a nice area.
Oh, class. But obviously I've made some notes, but I got, on a personal note, I have been back and forth with the Burrows team doing a lot of riding. We've been lucky with the weather. But Andy, Ability Energy, who sponsored did a personal spot. Let me spit my words out there. So they did an episode sponsor for this, Ability Energy, and Kat and Andy and Caitlin have properly helped me out to no end. They've been helping me get back and forth from Ireland itself. They've been a massive support to us. But that's why a lot of people may have noticed that the Jamie Lyons racing. So
he's back out. I just threw him behind the thing before.
I know you're going to get me in trouble for doing that. So no, they sponsor Jamie Lyons is stepping up in the stock 1000. He went from stock 600, he stepped into stock 1000. But they definitely, and they're sponsoring him, but that's the best thing about the sport. People are always willing to help out, massively. And
we're allowing it, don't we?
That's it. And as everyone knows, I've got a V2. You've sold your V2, haven't you? Is that?
Hopefully it's in the process of being sold.
It's in the process.
I've took a dipper, so at least it's all right.
Good lad.
It's a good start.
And obviously, throughout this process, I've got my V2 up for raffle at the end of the year. But I've got to give a massive thanks out to Pipeworks, Jeff at Pipeworks, and he's got a hell of a story. His son had leukemia from a young age, and incredibly resilient family. But he took the time out to build some silencers, because the exhaust pipes on it, the Tell Me No Noni pipes, are just too loud for any, because I'm doing Croft this weekend coming, and it just no ways are getting through sound test, just not a chance. So he's built these exhaust pipes. It looks like an old SP1, but it's nicknamed the wheelbarrow. It's just like 2 massive handles hanging out the back of this V2. So thank you so much to Jeff for getting that sorted for us, and I can't wait to get out riding it. But I've put my phone down, but I feel like this is a good opportunity before house cleaning. You got any more questions for our guest?
No, I've loved it. I've absolutely loved this one. It's mega.
It has been. It's man crush here. They are.
No, I've been nursing a semi the whole time.
Jesus Christ.
I'll just put that teddy bear down there for you. So they
episode title there.
It's nursing a semi with Matt Roberts. It rolls off the.
It does, yeah. It sounds strangely.
It does sound good. Oh, I tell you what. Hold on.
Oh, play it.
We had one more question. Sorry. Our patrons get a chance. So this is our final question. So we get patrons.
Have you downloaded it? I've got it downloaded.
It is downloaded here. So our patrons get an opportunity to ask you, on an audio file, to ask you a question themselves. So we haven't heard this, but we're gonna go with it.
Hi, gentlemen, and Dom. Hope you're well.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna do that again. Yeah, hold on, that's much better.
What happened then?
No, it's Chrissy's Lundy who did his Bluetooth system. So when Chrissy was getting ready for BSB races, you'd come in here, it'd be like a little nightclub. I think we should have done that camera thing.
Is it connected to your speakers?
Yeah, it's connected through. So I'll do that again. Sorry about that. We're very professional on Chasin the Racin. Here we go.
Hi, gentlemen, and Dom.
William Hins.
Hope you're well. So, Matt, you've got an entry to the Free Tech Endurance. You've got to pick 3 riders and a spanner man from your phone book. Who are you choosing and why? Best of luck to everyone for the season and hopefully catch you at some racing soon. Bye.
Class. Thank you so much, Will Hins. Sniffing skid marks there. So, have you heard of the Free Tech Endurance races?
I'm afraid not. No.
Oh, mate, the CB125s.
Right.
You've got Hudson Kenner who runs it.
Oh, I've heard of this.
It's like the no insurance endurance. You've got like 80,000 people on a grid. It is just carnage. It is
No insurance endurance.
It's absolutely nuts. I'll tell you what. It is so competitive.
Who was telling me about? Who's been and done that recently?
Loads of people. I think like the 44 Teeth lads have done it. There's loads of people who've like participated. Like, you get a load of BSB lads who do it at the latter end of the year. They have like a 24-hour race at Teesside.
That's up Teesside, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, mate, they are. There's your World Endurance career kicking off at Teesside.
Did you get that seat in World Endurance? Wow.
No, Free Tech commitments. So
it is an endurance ride.
It is an endurance ride. So it's Free Tech on a 125, utter carnage, mint crack. Your 3 riders.
Would you ride?
Yeah, I'd have a go.
So Matt's
That's one
Good.
seat.
Christian seen me ride, actually. I wore your levers, didn't I?
Yeah, he was my stunt double.
Oh, just stunt double, yeah. Bloody hell. I'd have a job on squeezing into those levers now.
I do remember.
That was pre-COVID, that was. And it was a squeeze then, to be fair. I'd gone all the way to Knockhill for a track day with Whit and left my levers at home.
Luckily, we're pretty much the same size.
Yeah, almost. Similar height, but it was a bit tight around the waist.
You made it work, though. So
I don't think Christian was able to wear them ever again.
So if anyone's listening to Free Tech Racing, Matt Roberts is available for a seating on a top ride. So anyway, your team, you're riding, your 2 other riders.
I'd have to probably bring back the my colleagues on Eurosport, James Hayden and James Whitham, just for sheer.
What a team!
Yeah,
what a team!
Eurosport Racing.
Who would you have on the spanners?
On the spanners, we'd have to have
Doug. I think Doug's a good show. I feel like.
Doug, yeah, could get Doug in
just for psyching him up between sessions.
That's it. Who would you have on the spanners?
I don't know really. Who could we have on the spanners? Who's on the Eurosport team that I mentioned? Steve Day.
Steve Day on the spanners.
Steve Day can get on the spanners. Steve was a decent rider. Well, I say that he was decent. He rode.
Right.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No.
Steve Day was in the Aprilia Super Teens with Stoner, Crutchlow, Chasney.
No way.
Gravity. Yeah, it was backmarker. And they, honestly, you ask Steve, he'll tell you.
I like how Steve Day might listen to this episode. He'd be asleep by now. He's just heard his name pick up.
He practicing racing. He got like lapped by Stoner at Alton Park or something like that in the wet, and he just went, "Do you know what? Fuck this."
I'm better talking about this.
Well, fair play. Yeah, you're right. It's good, Steve.
Oh, good lads.
We'll find out what it's like in the spanners at the
Free
Tech. I love it. Absolutely love it. So, right, let's get on with the. Do you have the Bennetts massage on your phone?
The Bennetts message is something. The track days are still available. That's what they were saying. They wanted Josh to do it because he knows all about it. So,
no. So here we go. Sorry, this is how professional. Bennett will be loving this, by the way. So it's obviously, let's do the house clean. OMG Racing, the biggest sponsor of the pod. We'd be absolutely all our sponsors, all our patrons. The show would not be happening without you. So, OMG Racing, Alan Garner, and the team. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, they've got new merch coming out, which is dead exciting. And they've new sponsorship. Grilla. Is it Grilla Energy Drinks? I'm trying to picture it now. This is terrible. This, yeah, it is Grilla. I'm probably saying it wrong. You're gonna have to you'll have to shout that out on the
Yeah, I'll work it out wrong. I'll wait till we get there on Thursday.
Yeah, on
Navarra. I'm not ready to commit to that kind of thing just yet.
So. No, understandable. So yeah, Gorilla Energy Drinks have come on board for their personal main sponsorship on that side of things. So the drinks will be available to get your hands on.
Yeah, the Bennetts thing, by the way, was that just to big up the experiences, because they are amazing at BSB. They have the end garage. Do they have the pit perch all the time? They sometimes have the pit perch, which is something you can't normally do. Like
it's fully accessible. And,
yeah.
You know, it's fact. If you get a Bennetts policy, you're accessible to everything. You know, you can get all these benefits.
Yeah, and rounds 3 and 4 are now live on the site, so I guess you can go there. And obviously the track days, which we talk about. So that's all the Bennetts stuff.
Great time, don't they? Yeah, everyone's just smiling when you go past that.
They're having the time of their lives, aren't they?
Amazing.
Yeah.
But they've got coffees, drinks, crack, everything floating. You know, you've just got full accessibility. Now, bearing in mind, you have to insure your motorcycle anyway.
Yeah.
You might as well get the benefits out of it. They're the hard facts.
Yeah,
I'm impartial on that, but I would just say they always do look like they're having a good time.
There we go. I like it. And obviously, we've got JCT Truck and Trailer Rental. Honestly, thank you. It's absolutely brilliant. They haven't asked for a thing. And it's just absolutely great to have them on board. And I mention this every time, but they sponsor Lee Johnson personally as well. So the fact that they hang around with Lee means they're good crack. I think
it means they're very patient type of people. They must be good.
Absolutely love it. And obviously the sponsor of the episode is Plumwise Limited. Yet again, I'm going to go through it and looking forward to doing it. Is a family-run business which has been going for over 25 years. They cover all aspects of domestic commercial plumbing, heating including gas, oil, renewable, air source, heat pumps, solar panels and everything. They are based in Newcastle upon Tyne, but they cover nationwide. If you'd like to get a free quotation, please contact Rachel on 0777 917 2953 or email info@plumwise.co.uk. And they sponsored Chrissy. The heart's in the right place and absolutely fantastic. So please check them out. They're on Facebook, they're on Twitter. Please click in and go from there. Absolutely brilliant. And Grace has yet messaged while I've been doing this. It's a bit creepy how she can do that. But please mention the snoods and the different caps that are on the way. She must have a tracker in here, to be honest with you. It's like
they stopped.
She's doing something anyway. The all-powerful Grace Rouse, without a doubt. So it's but no, I feel that is a perfect way to end it. But Matt goes without saying thank you for letting us clog up your neighbour's drive and everything. So it's been absolutely brilliant crack.
Anything to do to annoy the neighbours is always good. But no, honestly, it's been a real pleasure. I think it's great what you guys are doing. Obviously, keeping Chrissy's legacy going, but more than that, providing a great podcast and great conversation. It's always good to listen to. So, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Brilliant. And well, I won't see you two at Navarra, but you two are you at the test?
Each other. I'm not at the test, no.
Right.
No.
Oh, there we are. So, I'll be seeing you at Alton Park then. I'm not riding myself, but we'll see you all at Alton Park, and then we'll be having a catch up with Christian and the guys and everything, because you have done testing at that point. Hold on. What? I'm trying to work out. You were saying the test calendar to Navarra is only like a week gap in it.
Yeah. We got the BSB first test, and then just basically go straight to Navarra.
Yeah.
So I won't see Christian for a while anyway. So
I'll be busy.
You'll be very, very busy, and I like it.
You're on your own now, lads.
We are stuffed. We'll have to pull this out of our asses as we normally do. But it's
he goes back to now being the BSB star that
the hair gel wanker.
To speak to anyway.
Get the big sunglasses out. It's that time of the year.
That's it. No one speaks to me. But yet again, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch up with you soon. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
See you in a bit.
Cheers.